Oh, hello. Well, it's been a while. Oh, God, no. But yes, it's been a while. You see, sometimes life throws a big pause button at you unexpectedly, and you gotta take a break. Might be because of a breakup, or a breakdown, or a breakdance. I don't know. But what I do know is I am so glad to be right back here with you all at the video store. Sit back and relax while you enjoy episode 6 of Midnight Rental. This episode is in no way sponsored by the Kit Kat people or the Hershey Candy Company, but should they be watching, I'm here. Let's talk deal. I hope you all enjoy it. It's been a while. Oh my God, where does that keep coming from?
Since I could hold my head up high.
Hey, can I rent this?
Ah! Where did you find that? We're closed! Get out!
Tales from the Crypt.
Hello, creeps. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Cryptkeeper.
Where does one even begin with a powerhouse series like Tales from the Crypt? From the set, the writing, the Rolodex of celebrity cameos, and the charismatic host, the beloved television show was a cultural phenomenon that has yet to be topped in its uniqueness and design. An anthology series devoted to honoring the late EC comics of the same name, Tales from the Crypt crashed onto HBO airwaves in 1989 and was an instant hit. As much as Tales from the Crypt is a beloved TV show, you can't truly fully appreciate its creative style, tongue-in-cheek humor, and satisfying stories of just desserts without first knowing its rich history rooted in comics. Tales from the Crypt began as a horror anthology comic published by EC Comics. It was thanks to EC head honcho William Gaines and his editor Al Feldstein combining their mutual love of horror and deciding to branch out and experiment with some horror comic titles. The first was a story by Feldstein called Return from the Grave, which appeared in issue 15 of the series Crime Patrol, released in 1949. Now, this is also important because it's the first time we meet the Cryptkeeper, who serves as the host for the story. From that point on, Crime Patrol would become the Crypt of Terror for issues 17, 18, and 19. Issue 20 would then officially be name changed to Tales from the Crypt, with issue 22 locking in the now widely recognizable font and logo, and would go on to generate 27 issues. With fond memories of listening to hosted radio serials, Feldstein was adamant that there be a host for the scary stories to navigate the beginning and ends as a sort of bookend, with tongue-in-cheek humor as a balance for the creepy tales. The tales were often grisly, cautionary stories, dripping with retribution, and having the Cryptkeeper there to guide the reader with never-ending puns was the perfect yin to the horror yang. The comics had no superheroes, no ongoing storylines, no constant characters to root for other than the Cryptkeeper. The other horror comics in EC's lineup, The Vault of Horror and The Haunt of Fear, also had their own hosts in the form of the Vault Keeper and the Old Witch. The hosts wound up being wildly popular. They served as a break in the fourth wall by addressing the reader directly and making them feel like they were in on both the stories and the jokes with their self-awareness. While Feldstein was the creator of the Cryptkeeper, it was artist Jack Davis who molded and refined him into his truly dastardly comic form. Graham Ingalls was the EC artist behind The Old Witch, and Johnny Craig helmed The Vault Keeper and The Vault of Horror. With a readership said to have surpassed Life magazine subscriptions, EC Comics had a certified hit on their hands. With success comes imitation, and the comics industry was not absolved from other publishers scrambling to get a piece of that horror pie. EC's already established stacked deck of talented writers and artists were unmatched, and no one could knock them from the top. Until the bouncing ball of censorship came crashing down. There were a few key players that ultimately led to William Gaines having to testify before Congress to defend EC Comics. That's right. William Gaines had to go before Congress to defend comic books. It was an issue of EC's Panic that contained a parody of The Night Before Christmas that started the whole trouble. Making a parody of The Night Before Christmas today would be considered an extremely G-rated affair, but in 1953, desecrating Christmas was considered indecent material. The EC offices were raided by police, and EC's business manager, Lyle Stewart, sprang into action and hid William Gaines in the men's room and gave himself up to be arrested instead. They even handcuffed EC's receptionist, Shirley Norris, and booked her for selling the indecent literature. Psychiatrist Frederick Wortham, an out-of-touch nerd who determined that because the young patients he was treating with emotional problems read comic books, that meant they were to blame for all of the crime in the country. And he also said comics made readers abnormally sexually aggressive. Wait until the internet comes around. You have no idea what's in store for you, Wortham. Never mind that a massive population of adolescents read, loved, and enjoyed comics, Wortham took it upon himself to save the youth of America from cartoon boobs and skeletons with the publication of his book, Seduction of the Innocent, which maintained that comic books bred perverts and children were doomed to imitate the same violence hand-drawn on the pages, thus creating a nation of criminals. He even said that the comic book industry was a bigger threat to humanity than Hitler. Hitler! All of the heat surrounding EC Comics led to public hysteria, the burning of comics, and a new Comics Code authority that completely banned anything deemed to be too violent, down to words like horror, crime, and even weird. Gaines, heartbroken at his financial and artistic losses, finally pulled the plug on his beloved EC's horror comic line in late 1954. Now, there is one unsung hero of EC Comics I would be completely remiss if I didn't mention, especially since Midnight Rental is a female-ran show. That's right, boyos. All of this infotainment you're consuming is entirely scripted, directed, and edited by a broad with 2 hands, 2 boobs, and 1 brain, if you can believe it. And that unsung hero of EC Comics is Marie Severin. Marie joined EC in 1949 with her brother John and served as their colorist. In my opinion, Marie was just as crucial in breathing life into the comics to make them jump off of the page into the hands of eager readers as the rest of the team. Just try to imagine these covers without her spot-on dramatic and gruesome color tonalities. She also had the equally important role as the final art checker before the pages went off to press, often catching continuity errors that may have seemed small, but were absolutely essential to the story and final look of the finished product. For both an era and business that has historically been extremely territorial and a boys' club, the fact that Marie got an ankle in the door is astounding, and her impact on comics can't be emphasized enough. Marie would go on to have a successful career at Marvel and was inducted into the Will Eisner Comics Hall of Fame in 2001, along with Dale Messick, the first females to ever be inducted. Now, that very brief synopsis I just gave doesn't even begin to scratch the surface because EC's history is so rich, so layered, and so fascinating that we could devote an entire 6-part series to it alone. But we're here to talk about Tales from the Crypt, the TV show. And seriously, if you are interested in learning more about EC's history, I cannot recommend these books highly enough. You can be sure to find them at your local library.
We'll return to Have and Have Not after these messages.
Live tonight, America's top comedians will gather on stage for the 39th Annual Emmy Awards. From film and television, Jay Leno, David Letterman, Tracy Ullman, Gary Shandling, Bronson Pinchot, Mark Lynn Baker, John Ritter, Howie Mandel, Joan Rivers, Jane Curtin. Television's top comedians together for one night only. the 39th Annual Emmy Awards, live tonight on Fox Weekend Television.
Have trouble shopping for a new car during the week? Come see us at Ed Stint Chevrolet. We're open on Sunday, and we have Sunday and Monday specials. Here's an 87 Sprint. Buy it for $59.87. Lease it for $114. Here's an 87 Cavalier. Buy it for $72.87. Lease it for $139. An 87 S10. Buy it for $64.87 and lease it for only $122 a month. Come see us at Ed Stint Chevrolet, where we have people hours. Sunday noon to 5, Monday 9 to 9.
Hey, a monster pet! What's that? A monster pet has puppet action. Chain up for action. Get a monster pet. They're tough. But monster pet's a good pet too. And so friendly. But look out! They'll get you. Uh-oh. Beware of monster pets.
My Monster Pets have puppet action features. Part of the My Pet Monster collection, each sold separately with breakaway chains from Amtoy.
LensCrafters has a better way to make your glasses. Our laboratories are right here in the store, so we can custom grind your exact prescription in about 1 hour. Listen.
We had them faster and didn't have to wait.
The shortest time and the best pair I've ever owned. Eyeglasses within an hour and very good quality.
Got them in an hour.
Go in and get a good pair of glasses in an hour.
LensCrafters, quality eyeglasses in about an hour. 3 Cleveland stores, including Southland Shopping Center, Westgate, and Richmond malls. Also, Belden Village, Canton, and Summit Mall, Akron.
Painted homes peel in 1 year.
Is Ohio becoming the handgun capital of the Midwest? Some say yes. And the bear swipes at a tourist and connects. Channel 3 News is next.
Tales from the Crypt comics had been such a massive hit and so beloved by many, they had been pulled from this earth far too soon. It was bound to get resurrected in one way or another, and thanks to a group of Hollywood heavy hitters, it was. Russ Cochran was instrumental in reprinting the hardbound editions of the EC Library in its entirety beginning in 1978. It was established director and producer Walter Hill, who had been a massive EC Comics fan growing up, and he even went to college to become a cartoonist before switching his major to English. Once he got wind of the Tales from the Crypt reprints, he immediately ordered himself a set and fell right back in love with the stories he grew up reading under the covers with a flashlight. He also saw something new within the pages: potential. Story after story, Hill saw how well the material could transfer to the big screen, and it sparked a fire within him. His partner, David Giller, also a huge EC fan, agreed. The two men were working on Streets of Fire with Joel Silver in 1983 when Silver came across the books in Hill's office. Silver excitedly said, we should do an anthology film based on Tales from the Crypt. Well, he said the right words to the right guys, and not long after, they had bought the rights from William Gaines for pennies on the dollar. A year later, Superman director Richard Donner got wind of the In Limbo project from Joel Silver, and he wanted in. Donner had also grown up reading and loving Tales from the Crypt. The fifth and final piece of the puzzle to join in would be Robert Zemeckis, also brought on by Joel Silver while they were working on Who Framed Roger Rabbit together. Well over 5 years had passed since the idea had first been tossed out, and feeling as though they finally had the big enough name power, Joel Silver pitched the concept to HBO. HBO immediately took the bait, and then the only thing left to do before they could start filming was get the final blessing from William Gaines to change the initial concept from the original presented movie idea and instead make a cable TV series. Knowing that the EC stories were far too dark for network television, Gaines agreed, and soon the big trilogy of Donner, Hill, and Zemeckis were locked into directing the first 3 episodes. And they had to do it in record time with a quick turnaround. Robert Zemeckis was set to film Back to the Future 2 and 3 concurrently, which would mean he'd be unavailable for the next year and some change. So if they were going to do it, they had to do it now. Zemeckis took the helm for the premiere episode. He picked An All Through the House to kick the series off with. Originally printed in Vault of Horror number 35, the episode deals with both a murderous housewife and a murderous Santa Claus. Zemeckis' own wife, Mary Ellen Trainor, would star as the housewife,
Merry Christmas, you son of a bitch.
And Larry Drake as the scary Santa. Walter Hill took on The Man Who Was Death, originally published in Tales from the Crypt, number 17, about a vigilante executioner, and gave a unique spin on the story by having the main character break the fourth wall and speak directly to the camera.
You know, people tell me most executioners never look the prisoners in the eye, afraid they're gonna get spooked or something. Not me. I always look.
Donner, ever committed to the project in its extremely tight timeline, wrapped filming on Lethal Weapon 2 late in the evening on a Wednesday and was on the Tales set to begin filming his episode hours later Thursday morning. Now that's dedication. What? Did you really think I was going to write an entire Tales from the Crypt episode and not liberally throw around bad puns? Well, you were dead wrong. And buckle up, Buttercup, because there's plenty more where that came from. Donner's first directed episode was Digback Cat, He's Real Gone, originally published in Haunt of Fear, number 21, and he purposefully opted to film it like panels of a comic book. The young editor Donner was working with on the episode nearly didn't pan out. Donner had to tell him to chuck out what he had learned in film school and do the exact opposite of everything he had been taught to achieve the final comic book effect that he wanted. With the first 3 episodes in the can, the directors had established what the feeling of the show was to be. And they also showed the creative span that each other brought to the table. Zemeckis preferred the things that go bump in the night. Hill had a penchant for the darker, psychological edges, while Donner opted for the over-the-top, lighthearted comedic tone. This fell right in line with the varied storytelling styles of the original Tales from the Crypt writers and illustrators, with Joel Silver acting as the showrunner. Something that I've noticed that goes hand in hand with every successful show is a killer opening, and Tales from the Crypt has one of the best opening sequences in television history. A first-person perspective pulls the viewer through a meticulously decorated mansion from the outside in, running through rooms and eventually down a winding staircase leading all the way to the basement vault where the Cryptkeeper emerges, letting out his trademark cackle.
Tales from the Crypt.
The elaborate intro paired with award-winning composer Danny Elfman's driving score proved to be the perfect combination that has stood the test of time. Danny Elfman is of course known for his huge catalog of film scores, with his first being Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I meant to do that.
He's gone on to compose scores for Tim Burton and Sam Raimi films, even down to the Simpsons theme song. But aside from his theatrical composing, he was also a longtime member of Oingo Boingo, and we have him to thank for one of the greatest movie theme songs of the 80s.
Weird science.
It's purely sexual.
He's also married to Bridget Fonda. And who would have guessed he has all those tattoos? Richard Edlund and his special effects studio team, Boss Films, were the wizards behind the creation of the Haunted Mansion, which, despite how it looks on screen, is actually only around 5 feet tall. The first-person tracking shot was achieved with a 65mm snorkel camera, which Zemeckis and Donner directed for the scenes moving through the mansion. Now, a lot of people don't realize that that winding shot down the spiral staircase into the vault, that's actually completely CGI. Special effects artist Richard Edlund is a prestigious member of the Industrial Light and Magic team, the effects team made famous by some guy named George Lucas and his little film called Star Wars. I don't know, maybe you've heard of it. Edlund served as first cameraman on Star Wars and earned himself an Academy Award. He worked on the remaining 2 original Star Wars films and also lent his talents to Poltergeist and Raiders of the Lost Ark. As I mentioned, he's since gone on to form his own special effects company called Boss Films, and their list of credits couldn't be more of a dream list of movies, with Ghostbusters, Fright Night, Big Trouble in Little China, and Die Hard. It was artist Mike Vosberg who sketched the mansion's original design and who also expertly created every single episode cover that emulated the original comic books with a fresh spin on the updated story. These covers are crucial to every episode as the Cryptkeeper is introducing the story from the comic book before prominently showing the cover and announcing the story title as the episode begins.
Coming up this week on The Morning Exchange, we'll be live from Geauga Lake with singer Gloria Loring, fun house host J.D. Roth, and lots of fun.
Also this week, what do you do if you love the man but you hate his friends?
Linda Hirsch has soap news for you and will teach you to make a killer antipasto.
This week on The Morning Exchange.
Loving care means never go gray. Wash it away. We're saying never. Just soft and shining color forever.
Keep gray out of your life with loving care, the no peroxide hair coloring. Because even one gray hair is too many.
Loving care says, what do you say? Never go gray, never go gray, never go gray.
Somebody made a big mistake here.
What's that, Reid?
Well, I'm eating these Harvest Crisp crackers, and I don't get it. Here, taste one.
Okay.
How's that? Great? Huh?
That's good, hon.
Light? Crispy?
It's delicious.
Aha! So what's a delicious cracker like Harvest Crisp doing in a box that says low fat, no cholesterol?
Somebody put him in the wrong box.
Well, who could have made such a mistake?
Nabisco.
I mean, if Harvest Crisp is so good for you, how come I can't stop eating them?
I don't know, hon.
I love them.
I love steak. I mean a big porterhouse.
Delay.
I like it very nicely medium.
Rare.
The sound is like... Wait. It's not done. Now.
It's been done.
Done.
A1. It's how steak is done.
John Wayne as Hondo will return after these brief messages.
I got a position open for a cabana boy.
Well, I think I can probably handle that.
Let the summer begin.
I think we need to stop seeing each other.
No.
90210, The Summer, premieres Thursday, July 11th.
Charlie Moore Teaches History on Head of the Class, weekdays at 5:30 on Fox 19.
For all the best of today's hot new country, turn on FM 99.5 WGAR, Cleveland's country music station.
Girls in gangs and their mothers who want them off the street. Next, Donahue.
House of Secrets continues, starring Melissa Gilbert and Bruce Boxleitner.
The stars are about to come out tonight. There's something in the air. Summer nights at SeaWorld. Great new shows. Half price after 6. And an incredible Starlight Laser and Fireworks Spectacular. Come make contact with another world tonight. SeaWorld.
WOIO, Shaker Heights, Cleveland.
Hondo is in 3D. Please put your glasses on.
Hey, can I rent this?
No! We don't rent those. Aren't you John Dudas from Carol and John's comic shop?
I am. Were you talking about Tales from the Crypt?
Yes.
Well,
We don't sell books either.
well, you do now. This is a copy of Seduction of the Innocent, the book that brought down EC Comics. William Gaines was the original publisher of EC Comics from 1950 to 1954, with titles such as Haunt of Fear, Vault of Horror, Weird Science Fantasy, and Tales of the Crypt, amongst others. Frederick Wortham wrote the book Seduction of the Innocent that wound up creating a whole federal witch hunt around juvenile delinquency in comic books that brought down Gaines's empire. EC Comics, including Tales from the Crypt, failed to be published from that point on. Only one book survived, and that was Mad Magazine. Gaines is a legendary hero in the world of comic books, and Frederick Wortham was debunked years later as a fraud. And then later on, the feds just moved on to other forms of pop culture that affected juvenile delinquency for real, like rock and roll.
Are you done?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that we can find out more information about EC Comics at Carol and John's Comic Shop, located in West Park, Cam's Corners in Cleveland, Ohio. Tonight, we're going to take a look at all 7 of the seasons of Tales from the Crypt, including the movies and even the cartoon series. So, first, here's a recap. Okay, so the way that we're going to do these Tales from the Crypt episodes, because I can't go into deep dives on every single episode, that would take way too long, is I'm going to give you my personal ranking system of my favorite episodes from best to worst in each season. But it's just that. My personal opinion, which actually means nothing. You see, an episode that I might love, you might hate, and an episode that makes its way to the bottom of one of my piles, you might love. And that's okay. That's the beauty of it. We can have different opinions. I am by no means a official Tales from the Crypt critic or expert. Experts are boring. I'm an enthusiast. I love talking about things that I like and sharing them with like-minded people, or people who might not know that much about Tales from the Crypt and are just curious and want to learn more. So, hopefully, you can sit back and enjoy my thoughts and opinions on some of my favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes. Let's take a look. So that's just a little recap on how we're going to rank the episodes, and it's not even really from best to worst, but more so episodes at the top of my list that I rewatch the most versus ones that I don't revisit as much. Let's start with season 1.
One more thing.
Just a gratuitous warning right off the rip that this episode is riddled with spoilers. I really tried, and it was not within my skill set to not give away the endings while I was explaining a lot of these episodes. So, if you haven't seen the series before, proceed with caution. Alright, enjoy. If you watched part 1, you know that I already went into how the show got started with the Kings of the Crypt producers / co-creator team of Richard Donner, Joel Silver, Robert Zemeckis, Walter Hill, and David Giller. We also touched upon a few of the first episodes. Now, being that it was a bit of a test season, there were only 6 episodes, and for me, the clear standout episode in season 1 is And All Through the House, directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Ho, 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 kitties.
The episode, and I promise I'm not spoiling anything here as it immediately opens with this scene happening in the first 8 seconds, involves a woman murdering her husband on Christmas Eve while trying to hide it from her young daughter. Oh, and there's also a murderous convict who escaped from a mental asylum and is dressed like Santa, who is now stalking them both, leaving the woman with the double duty of trying to keep her dead husband hidden from both her daughter and the police, while also keeping them all alive in the wake of the unexpected, yet seasonally relevant guest. It's fast-paced, tense, and still keeps me on the edge of my seat each time that I view it. It's truly a perfect episode, and it makes its way to the top of my list for season 1. The Man Who Was Death is another episode that I love because it's also one of the first Tales from the Crypt comics that I remember reading, and the episode does such an excellent job of matching the tone and pacing of the original comic. It's also the first episode that kicks off the entire series and has Bill Sadler, who you will of course recognize from Roseanne and The Green Mile, playing the lead role of an executioner, specifically the electric chair, named Niles, who gets let go from his job when the death penalty is revoked from state law. Unable to cope with unemployment and not being able to kill people on the clock while also bearing witness to the constant injustices of the city, he takes the law into his own hands and starts tracking down killers on his own watch and taking care of business. He was the original Dexter. The ending also has its own satisfying series staple of just desserts, with Niles eventually getting caught for murder and landing in his very own electric chair when the state reinstates the death penalty. Only Sin Deep is another standout episode that touches on the dangers of vanity when a hooker sells her beauty to a pawnbroker for $10,000. Of course, the deal comes with an additional cost, and that is that her face begins to age rapidly. This is not a feel-good prostitute story a la Pretty Woman, but it's still a good episode. The remaining episodes, Collection Completed and Dig That Cat, He's Real Gone, are great entries that take a slightly more lighthearted tone but still end up with a lesson learned, while Lover Come Hack to Me is a bloody ghost story. Season 1 also brings us the first view of the Cryptkeeper, our ghoulish guide through each episode. His first appearance in the vault is very dimly lit, he speaks slowly and with seriousness, versus the rapid-fire puns that would eventually become his trademark as the series went on. We have special animatronics effects artist Kevin Yeager, who you know from his work on the A Nightmare on Elm Street series, Sleepy Hollow, Hellraiser Bloodline, and Child's Play, who created the TV Cryptkeeper and brought him to life. It was a chance run in Yeager had with series co-creator and producer Joel Silver at a storage facility where they both stored items. Silver got a peek inside Yeager's unit and was blown away by his creations. This led to him asking if he'd be the Cryptkeeper creator. Yeager's initial design of the Cryptkeeper was minimal and utilized what he had laying around, such as the very same eyeballs that he used in the Chucky puppet, and he kept it simple with a drab cloak and hood. The producers all had their own ideas of what they imagined the Cryptkeeper would wind up looking like, and in many ways, they imagined him to have a more human form. But when Yeager presented them with his final creation, they were all in agreement that he was perfect. Next, Yeager was tasked with filling the voice of the Cryptkeeper, which I honestly love that he had that responsibility versus another producer or casting director, because it only makes sense since he created the Cryptkeeper with his own bare hands that he would be the most connected to his puppet to marry the proper voice to it. Enter John Kassir. As soon as Yeager heard Kassir's pitch-perfect high and dry cackle, he knew that he had found the right vocal talent to bring the rest of the Cryptkeeper to life.
Tales from the Crypt.
With the 6 meticulously adapted stories from the comics blended together perfectly with the Dead Alive horror host, HBO wasn't just onto something. They had hit a ratings home run.
Ken Reid here from TV Guidance Counselor, and my absolute favorite episode of Tales from the Crypt is the very first episode of Tales from the Crypt, The Man Who Was Death, airing on June 10th, 1989 as part of a movie of 3 episodes. This blew my mind and gave me exactly what I needed to know what this show would be about. It was directed by Walter Hill, and this was something that blew my mind. He talks to the camera, it breaks the fourth wall, which is how the story is structured.
It's easy to be successful with dames. Just don't fall in love and you're okay.
But I realized that this was going to be influenced by comics in a way that, say, Creepshow was not. So, perfect. It's a perfect episode. The Man Who Was Death, the very first episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Season 1 only had 6 episodes, just like Midnight Rental, and yet it was such a hit that they blasted on to Season 2 right out of the gate. Let's take a look. After 6 successful episodes, Season 2 would be a full season of 20 star-studded episodes. There are so many episodes from this season that I absolutely love that I don't even know where to begin or how to possibly narrow them down. Season 2 is honestly one of my most heavily rewatched seasons. The Switch, starring William Hickey, Uncle Lewis from Christmas Vacation, Kelly Preston, and Rick Rossovich, is a classic cautionary tale of being careful what you wish for. An elderly millionaire is infatuated with a vivacious woman who is repulsed by his advances and just tells him he's too old.
I know that I could never marry you. You look too old.
He seeks out extreme plastic surgery by way of gradually swapping body parts and cash with a young, fit man in order to turn back time and win the heart of the woman. Surgery by surgery, he becomes younger and younger, but the woman proves really hard to please. Eventually, he makes a full body transformation. However, other aspects of him are now lacking, like his wallet.
You're nice, Carlton. But I needed a man of financial means who could make me comfortable for the rest of my life.
The episode is quick and fun, and keeping William Hickey's voice with Rick Rossovich's body is a hilarious touch.
Wait till Linda sees this.
This episode holds the distinction of being directed by none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he even makes a cameo in the show intro. I love this episode not because it was one of the first Tales episodes I ever saw, but because of the fun direction Schwarzenegger takes it. And it just seems like it was a blast to film. Three's a Crowd is another hit for me in Season 2. Richard, played by Gavin O'Hurley, and his wife take a trip out of town to Richard's best friend's estate to celebrate their 10th anniversary. Now, Richard suspects that his wife is going around behind his back with his best friend, and his paranoia quickly grows front and center along with his rage.
I'm the asshole! You're the one who's fucking my wife!
little does he know that the whole reason his wife and best friend are spending so much time together is because they're planning a surprise party for him. Also, synth king Jan Hammer did the music for this episode, and Jan Hammer is also responsible for the driving score behind one of my favorite movies, I Come in Peace, alternatively titled Dark Angel.
I come in peace.
He's also responsible for the Miami Vice theme and stars in the music video as well. Just take a look at this. Look at him go. He's so cute. Dead Right is another Tales episode I remember seeing early on, and I absolutely love it. Starring Demi Moore and Jeffrey Tambor. It's a total product of its time during that very specific period of the early 90s when it became trendy to put actors in incredible amounts of makeup to make them look 30 to 40 years older or 300 to 400 pounds larger versus just casting an actor who fit the physical character description. It's almost like the novelty of seeing a well-known actor appear old was the whole underlying purpose. But even if it can sometimes be silly, it works here. It's another perfectly told be careful what you wish for tale, with Demi Moore playing a waitress who is scraping by and dreaming of a bigger life. After a visit with a fortune teller who gives her a reading that comes true, she has to go back for a second reading to ask about her love life. The fortune teller informs her that she will become an extremely wealthy woman after meeting a man who is set to inherit a large sum of money but will then die. Little does she know that the order of things is sometimes what matters the most. Jeffrey Tambor does almost too good of a job being an absolute gross-out human being underneath all of those prosthetics, and the fortune teller's second prediction does in fact come true, but of course, not without consequences. Corman's Calamity is one of my favorite episodes of Season 2. Right off the bat, we've got Night Court cutie Harry Anderson in the leading role. This episode is a complete homage to EC Comics down to the setting in which it takes place at the Tales from the Crypt comic book offices. Anderson plays cartoonist Jim Corman, who has a loud imagination and an even louder wife, who is constantly accusing him of being up to no good. When Corman's creations start leaping off paper and coming to life, Corman takes the opportunity to write his life some better scenes. A plucky cop played by Cynthia Gibb encounters some of Corman's loose creations while at a laundromat and begins investigating the case. This episode is a self-aware, lighthearted romp that feels exactly like the very comic books it's based on having come to life. And isn't that the point? The effects are great, the monsters are fun, and there's even, dare I say, a happy ending? The Secret takes the top slot next to Ventriloquist Dummy as my favorite episode of Season 2. A young boy, Theodore, expertly played by Mike Simmern, lives in an orphanage where he dreams of being adopted by a family. One day, a wealthy couple, the Colberts, come to the orphanage looking to add to their family and decide to adopt Theodore. They bring him back to their opulent mansion where Theodore is thrust into a world where he has everything he ever has dreamed of at his fingertips, down to dessert. Despite having everything he could ever want, Theodore finds himself quite lonely due to the fact that the Colberts are never home. Theodore finds a friend and confidant in Tobias, the estate's butler. I love Tobias. Theodore lives like a king for a few weeks, but soon begins to suspect that there's more to the Colberts than they originally let on. I love so many things about this episode. The pacing and the storytelling of it make it feel so much longer than it is in a good way. Because of how full it feels, this episode easily could have been a full-length movie if they had stretched it out. I love the set, the wardrobe, even the corny filter they slap on the lens to make it seem as though they're recording in the middle of the night in the woods despite it being painfully obvious that it is high noon with the sun blaring. It's a fun episode that never gets old for me, and it's one that I always revisit. Four-Sided Triangle is a bonkers episode with Patricia Arquette, who plays Mary Jo, a girl who is essentially enslaved on a farm to a couple of real corncobs. She is constantly ogled by the creepo husband and is in turn treated even more poorly by the husband's jealous wife. After hitting her head, she begins to see the cornfield scarecrow in a new light, and he just might wind up being the man of her dreams who saves the day after all.
He's alive! He was just about to make love to me when you showed up!
Don't argue with me, you little fool!
Honestly, I think we can all agree that the real star of this episode is Patricia Arquette's tank top. Now, if it seems like I'm listing nearly every episode in Season 2 as my favorite, it's because I mostly am. I told you there were so many heavy hitters for me in Season 2 that I can't make a decision. The episode For Crying Out Loud with Katie Seagal and her leather bustier and scumbag promoter Lee Arenberg, whose inner thoughts are screaming Sam Kinison style in his ear.
Oh no. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it, Marty. Not that!
Who is actually the voice of Lee's inner ear. That's Sam Kinison. While Iggy friggin' Pop writhes around on stage like a liquid squid in a cameo is another wild ride that I just love. Judy, You're Not Yourself Today is a great switcheroo entry with Carol Kane that has her character getting her identity stolen, quite literally, from an old woman who curses her while she desperately tries to convince her husband that she's been put in another body. So, is it cheating if you think you're having sex with your spouse but someone else has inhabited their body without your knowledge? Or is the jury still out on that one? We'll talk about it later. Anyways, it's a fun episode that has tones of Drag Me to Hell in it, and I love it. Also, I love his pajamas. My Brother's Keeper is a fantastically hilarious Siamese twin entry starring actual twin brothers, Timothy and Jonathan Stark, who portray Siamese brothers who are connected but can't separate due to the risky surgery it would entail, along with Frank being pretty codependent. Despite being connected, the two brothers could not be more opposite, and when brother Frank meets a girl who can actually see past his package deal, Eddie becomes insanely jealous and decides to take matters into his own hands and eliminate the competition, only to find freedom, but momentarily.
Hey, you're over there!
Mute Witness to Murder is another stellar entry in Season 2, and also had its music composed by Jan Hammer. There he is! Patricia Clarkson witnesses a murder, and the absolute shock of it renders her completely speechless, and apparently in the 90s that was still enough to get you completely committed for that. The doctor at the hospital, Dr. Task, is played by Richard Thomas, who you of course know as Bill from the original Stephen King It television miniseries. He winds up being the very same man she saw commit the crime, and Richard Thomas does such a great job of being an unimaginable prick that it's hard to remember that he was once nice old Bill Denbrough.
One more thing.
One of my favorite episodes of the entire series. I know that I literally just finished saying that I wasn't going to do deep dives on every single episode, and that's still true, but I am going to do a deep dive on this episode in particular, and for good reason. Just trust me, it'll all make sense in a few minutes. Here we go.
So grab hold of your guts.
One of my favorite episodes from Season 2 is Episode 10, The Ventriloquist Dummy. Directed by Tales from the Crypt series co-creator Richard Donner, this episode is special for a lot of reasons. The first being, it stars a truly legendary combo of Don Rickles and Bobcat Goldthwait. Don Rickles plays Mr. Ingalls, who is a headlining ventriloquist with his faithful pal Morty. Young fan Billy Goldman watches his act with bated breath and meets him afterwards for an autograph. Later that same night, Billy watches as Mr. Ingalls' room goes up in flames. From there, we flash forward 15 years and see that Billy has grown into Bobcat Goldthwait. Inspired ever since he met him, Billy has tracked Mr. Ingalls down.
Can Morty come out and play? Oh, shit. Come on in.
Well, close the door, schmuck. It's not a barn. What's on your mind? Make your point.
I'm Billy Goldman. You said I could look you up.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it was 15 years ago. I was 11 years old. I was there. I saw your last performance.
How was I?
You were great. You were unbelievable. Wow. Is that Morty? I want to...
No, hey, don't touch that. Leave it alone, will you? He's retired, like me.
Showgirl dies in tragic resort fire. Famous ventriloquist injured.
All I know was I lost everything that night. Everything.
Couldn't you operate on Morty with your left hand?
Laughed. That's good for opening doors and swatting flies. This is the hand that had the magic in it. Why did you come, huh? To stir up old memories? To pry into my pain? Speak up, damn it!
And he wants him to know that he's performing at an amateur night with his own dummy. He wants Mr. Ingalls to be in the audience, and Mr. Ingalls kind of hesitantly says he'll think about it, but ultimately shows up for Billy's set. Unfortunately, no one could hear the air raid sirens soon enough because Billy, racked with nerves and an endless supply of sweat, completely bombs from start to finish.
I just recently flew in from New Jersey. And my eyes are tired.
kid. You can do it.
But seriously, folks. My partner and myself would like to take this time to announce we have a special guest in the audience. A man who, without any doubt, is probably the world's greatest ventriloquist.
Afterwards at the bar, and if you're quick, you'll spot director Richard Donner sitting at the bar smooching his real wife.
It was terrible, wasn't it?
It wasn't terrible. Okay, it was terrible. You had no technique, no concentration, and no material. And you had no idea how to work the audience. Billy, I suggest you look for another line of work.
Yeah. Listen, thanks for coming down, and, I'm sorry about the wasted trip.
Billy. Billy, I'm truly sorry. Believe me, I know what it's like when your whole life's dream crumbles like dust in your hand.
Thanks.
Billy leaves in dismay, and Mr. Ingalls takes off with a woman from the bar. Completely dejected, Billy goes to toss his dummy into the trash dumpster outside when he finds the woman from the bar dead in a car. He proceeds to leave his fingerprints across every possible surface of the crime scene while Mr. Ingalls is inside his house injecting his hand with morphine. Billy accuses Mr. Ingalls of killing the woman in the car.
You killed that woman tonight, didn't you?
No, not me.
Don't lie to me, old man! You killed her!
No.
You stink of gasoline! You tried to set a fire to cover it up, just like that other woman 15 years ago! No,
And Mr. Ingalls reveals that it's not him, but in fact...
Morty. He hates women. He's never been able to have a woman in a normal way.
Not entirely surprised to learn that the bouncing ball of misogyny doesn't skip the puppet community, but hey, that's life. It is then revealed, and should come as no surprise, that Morty is not a dummy, but in fact attached to Mr. Ingalls because he's his brother.
Morty! It's my brother! My brother! Morty!
The showdown that occurs next can only be rivaled in length by this infamous scene. They beat each other up in every way possible until Mr. Ingalls cuts Morty free from his arm.
Oh, don't worry, Mr. Ingalls. You'll be okay.
It doesn't matter, Billy. I'm free. Finally free.
Oh, contraire, my frère. I'm the one who's finally free.
With Morty now on the loose, he and Billy have it out in a bloody near end.
All right, you little fucker. I'm gonna park you in the cheap fucking seats. Where are you?
Get the point?
The bitch! Oh! Better swing!
But not before one of the greatest lines in television history is uttered.
What are you doing?
I'm making an asshole casserole, pal, and you're the main ingredient.
Out of total desperation, Morty offers Billy a deal he can't refuse.
We can make a deal.
Shut up!
I'll do anything you want. Anything, I swear.
Anything?
And now, directors Morty and Billy.
It's showtime, folks. She says to me, you know a better way to study astronomy?
Well, what did you do then?
What else? I showed her my telescope, the big one. chocolate just walked in. Hubba, hubba, yow! What a tomato!
Morty, about the telescope, did you discover any other new heavenly bodies that night?
You bet your ass. Feast your eyes on her. Hey, baby, what are you doing after the show? Try to scratch your ass now, Buster?
And so what we learn is that Morty is extremely clingy, and Billy is now tied to a lifetime of uncontrollable cat calls. What I enjoy about this episode is that it is a classic cautionary tale about the temptations of fame, being careful what you wish for, and extremely codependent family members. While Richard Donner directed the episode, it was Frank Darabont who penned the screenplay. Darabont has a host of screenwriting credits to his name, with his first being a co-writer on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors. Darabont, in my opinion, has been the most successful at executing the difficult task of adapting Stephen King's written works into films, such as The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Mist. He was also responsible for expertly translating the Walking Dead comics from page to screen with Season 1 of The Walking Dead. The character of Mr. Engels is a nod to artist Graham Engels, who worked at EC Comics on The Vault of Horror, The Haunt of Fear, and, of course, Tales from the Crypt. In fact, he drew the original art for the comic version of the ventriloquist dummy. He even went by Ghastly Graham. As I've mentioned, Richard Donner directed the ventriloquist dummy along with 2 other Tales from the Crypt episodes. Now, growing up without cable, I was at the mercy of watching Tales from the Crypt edited for TV like a sucker when Fox started airing them late at night on the weekends. I remember it competed with SNL, my favorite show at the time, and I tuned out of SNL to tune into Tales from the Crypt. This episode always stuck with me. Morty isn't even on the screen for that very long if you were to tally up the total number of minutes, and yet he always freaked me out. The practical and makeup effects were created by Greg Canham and his team, Canham Creations. Greg Canham has provided his talents on a truly impressive list of films, and there is no shortage of his magic in this episode. He makes Morty who he is, and it's absolutely awesome. Another reason why this episode works so well is the completely chaotic dynamic between the manic Billy, expertly played by America's sweetheart Bobcat Goldthwait, across from legendary stage and screen star Don Rickles, who pours every muscle fiber of his acting abilities set to overdrive into his portrayal of Mr. Engels. The ventriloquist dummy first appeared in issue number 28 of Tales from the Crypt with a story by William Gaines and Elle Feldstein, and had a cover price of 10 cents. Now, if you wanted to pick up a copy today, well, I hope you have a lot of dimes saved up, because even a fair grade copy is going to set you way back. Wait a minute, what's that? So, out of nowhere here, we have Bobcat Goldthwait just ready to talk to us. I know that we've been talking about his episode that we've been watching, The Ventriloquist Dummy, and I wanted to first thank you, Bobcat, for taking the time to join us here on Midnight Rental. And I wanted to ask you, what led you to LA?
Yeah, so I grew up in Syracuse. I left to get warm. No, I'm from Syracuse. I grew up with Tom Kenny, who's the voice of SpongeBob, and Tommy and I have known each other since we were 6 years old. We started doing comedy all the way when we were high schoolers in Syracuse, and then we moved to Boston and then San Francisco, and then eventually Los Angeles. But I think even as a kid, we knew, he wanted to do voices, and I knew I wanted to perform, I thought, but I definitely wanted to be a director, because he loved Mel Blanc and I loved Mel Brooks, so it's not a weird thing that we ended up where we were. But how did I end up in LA and on Tales from the Crypt? I ended up there because I had worked with Richard Donner on Scrooge, and he directed that episode that I was in.
And so did he approach you about?
Yeah, he just asked if I wanted to do it, and it was pretty fun. It was kind of, I remember sitting in like a puddle of blood on the floor because you're just covered in blood, so it's easier if you don't move and get up, and you're gonna drip all. So Don Rickles and I are just sitting in blood on the floor while they reset. And so we said to the prop guy, we go, this is a lot of blood, but this show always does a lot of blood. And the prop guy goes, no, this is the most blood we've ever used. very weird to sit and have wet pants. You're just sitting in this sticky wet pants and knowing that Don Rickles is just inches away and he's having the same weird sensation in his taint at the same time you are. It's very weird. So Don Rickles and me sitting in blood, and he was very sweet to me. And then of course, if people were around, he would call me a dummy and stuff like that. But it was he was very fatherly and very nice. And then he'd be like, you don't write jokes, you just scream.
Thank you very much. It feels good to...
And things fall down. That's comedy now. And but he was also very upset that I didn't dress up on stage. That really bothered him. Richard Donner and his wife, my wife at the time, we flew to Vegas to see Rickles, and he comes out in a tuxedo and he does a number, and it really bothered him that I just dressed like a slob on stage. It really did. It was like, I don't know. It was really weird because at one point, people think about, like, of course he was shocking. But the funny thing is like at one point, Donner goes, and then you look around, you go, fuck. Or he was pitching that Don has a reaction where he cursed. And Don was like, no, he's not going to say, he wouldn't say fuck on camera, and he wouldn't say even shit. Or isn't that funny? Yeah, I loved working on the Tales from the Crypt. I already liked the show, so it was really cool to get on. And then I did another one too that I don't remember much about, but there was an animated version, animated episode, and I did a voice on that. There was a Saturday morning version of it. Isn't that weird that like this very R-rated series gets a Saturday morning cartoon?
Well, if they can milk it into something else that they can homogenize and repackage, and
right, but that's really weird when R-rated films get marketed towards kids eventually,
like RoboCop.
Yeah, I was trying to give like something like, yeah, exactly.
Like the most horrifying, like it's just nothing but blood and bullets and machines blowing people away, and they're like, look at these fun action figures that would
And I wonder if that's the whole world or if that's a very American thing. I don't know.
The Tales from the Crypt episode, how many production days did that episode take?
We went over, normally I think it was like a week, and it was Richard. So so I think we went over a lot.
The reason I had asked especially how long the filming days were on that Tales from the Crypt episode, because the final showdown between you and Morty and Rickles, it almost rivals in length the fight scene in They Live. Like
it's really long, yeah.
It's so bloody, and it just keeps going, and just when you think like, oh, one of them has to be dead, nope, then Morty.
No, yeah, it is very They Live. It's funny, Morty, my buddy Alex Party, who's an artist, like Morty clearly scarred him. Like he talks a lot about Morty. It's really good.
Again, I grew up without cable, so I did not get to experience Tales from the Crypt in real time on HBO. I was watching them syndicated for local network television, and they were obviously edited, but that episode in particular, it's why it's one of my favorites. It scared the shit out of me. And
it's still, even the watered down version, that's good.
Absolutely. And that is, Morty is a very effective puppet. Like it was creepy. He's got these little, the little like crabman hands, and
what's something I remember, I forgot, is that Frank Darabont wrote it. He was around a lot, and really nice guy. And it was funny, like I saw him not too long ago at a Comic-Con, obviously before the pandemic, and I was like, oh, he's not gonna remember me, and because Shawshank is such a like one of the best movies ever, and all he wanted to do was talk about this episode. And I wanted to go
time, like it's so
isn't that really funny though? He was very proud of it and really wanted to talk about it, and it was just like it was just fascinating after his giant body of impressive work. I remember, Richard Donner was great, and he's like, "Kid, you want to direct?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come with me." So we're going in his trailer. He goes, "I'm going to teach you how to direct." I was like, "Wow, Richard Donner's going to give me advice." And we get in his trailer, and he throws me a pillow, and he goes, "Take a lot of naps." And so I sat in an easy chair and slept and so I saw him just before he passed away, and I reminded him of that story. He goes, "It's true." And I'm like, "Dick, I've never made anything that I've never even been in a trailer while I was directing. I've never sat down. I sit down a lot, but I'm on an Apple box or something. But yeah, I've never had a chance to nap on any TV show or movie that I directed, I did learn a lot from him, like involving different things. Like when stunts were involved, he kind of really let his coordinator take over, and even as far as to like let the coordinator suggest where the camera would be and stuff like that. So I learned stuff like that from him. I learned from him too, the energy, if you come to, most of my sets are usually fun, but he taught me that part of my job is to make it fun and supply an environment where people felt safe to pitch stuff and come up with ideas and stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to edit something in or out. So actors don't remember what you didn't use. Actors remember the freedom they had while they worked with you.
Speaking of your directing, I'm noticing the Shakes the Clown clapboard behind you.
Oh my God, good eyes. Yeah.
I want to ask you about Shakes the Clown. Finest alcoholic clown movie ever made.
I've heard a lot of stories where people would be like at Blockbuster and they would bring it up to the counter, and then the people would say, "No, you don't want that. You want, here's 3 men and a baby." Like I think they thought it was going to be I'm sure they probably thought it was like, well, that guy's got this wacky persona that they're going to be watching like a Pauly Shore movie or something, but it's just this obscene movie, a lot of vomiting and.
Mom, who's the naked clown in our bathroom?
I just got a Shakes the Clown poster because I didn't have one, and now my office here. So I've never hung up posters before, so I didn't own a Shakes the Clown poster. So I went on eBay. And I bought my own poster, and then I went and it comes in a tube, and I went and I brought it to the frame shop, and then I went to pick it up, and that's when I realized I bought my own autograph. I saw the guy
had signed it before.
Yeah, $40. So I had been autographed. It's the guy looking at it is like, isn't that you? Like, why would you, whatever? But
yes, it is me.
I go, no, I look like him. That's the joke. So I'll be paying in cash. You're never gonna find out my real name. It's even worse because I wrote "kill me" and I Bobcat Goldthwait, because I clearly had an ass load of this guy who asked me to sign a million things, and now I'm glad he has my home address.
But now Shakes the Clown, you wrote it, you directed it, you starred in it. So to me, that seems like that would be something that was your baby. Was that a character you had long in development?
No, it was more like we did do, Tom Kenny and I had a sketch group when we were kids in Syracuse called the Generic Comics. So, there was a sketch about a clown that goes to a funeral, but I think Shakes, it wasn't like a movie that I had it's kind of like most of the movies I make. I don't really have a passion. It's more I'm driven by will this work, and can we do this? Can I make a noir film set in a world of clowns, a clown noir? So it's like found footage. I did Willow Creek, a scary Bigfoot movie, and that was basically, can I scare people? Can I do a found footage? Can I do? So each time it's more about the challenge than I feel like, oh, this is a story that has to be told. I think the only movie where I felt like, oh, this is a story that has to be told would be the documentary I did on my friend Barry Crimmins. I felt like his story. In fact, I promised him that I would do it. I promised him I would do it as a narrative, and I never got around to it. And it was my friend Robin Williams, because we had talked about Robin playing Barry, and Robin was like, I'm too old, and and he was like, you should do a documentary. So he actually gave me the initial money to start that movie, Call Me Lucky. In Syracuse, we had, just like the Cryptkeeper, we had this guy Baron Dimone, and he used to host horror films. Baron Dimone. I don't know why I brought that up, but
well, it's relevant. Horror host, yeah.
yeah. So it was like that too. And then there was another one too, though, where it really had it was I can't remember the other. I think it was just Monster Movie Matinee, and it had like a Tim Burton-esque model up on a hill, like a mansion. It was black and white, and there was dry ice, and the camera would push in, and it would do, it was really good. And the host you never saw, you just saw his fingernails, and he sat in a nice chair, and it was really good.
What was the first horror movie you remember seeing that truly scared you?
Well, I mean, because on all these were all the Universal classic monsters, so it is like watching the Wolfman and Frankenstein. They didn't really scare me so much; they were just great, because I always saw myself as the monster. I didn't see myself as the villagers. But I mean, it's cliche, but the first time I remember just really losing my shit in a theater is going to see Jaws, with my parents, because my parents didn't go to the movies, so it was a big deal that we went to see Jaws. My folks, like, all the movies I went to would be with neighbors and going to drive-ins and things like that. Trying to think of again, things didn't scare me. I remember seeing Santa Claus versus the Martians, Pia Zadora as a child, and then I'd come home and I explained the plot to my mother. I went back to revisit. It's not that good. The song is great, but the movie's not that good. Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, which had a different name. I remember seeing that in the theater. Again, they weren't scary. I mean, the first jump scare was Jaws.
One of the things I did enjoy about the Tales from the Crypt episode is the wardrobe that they had you in, and I wish I had I'll put it up on screen for everyone to see, but
I have this here. Hang on one second. Pardon my butt. There we go.
God.
Isn't that cool?
Incredible.
Yeah, that's the the art that they would have.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's perfect. And that was the shirt I was going to mention.
Yeah, it was like polyester. I remember it. It was like really.
That was the standard issue comedian shirt from like 1990.
Oh yeah. They could have went with me having like a skinny tie and my sleeves pushed up on a jacket, like maybe a tie with piano keys. That was the big one.
And I love that they made miniature versions for the dummy. They had you in
a
small version of that shirt, and then they had you in a blue satin crew jacket embroidered with Billy on it.
And then me like bombing it. It looks a lot like The Dark Backward, with Judd Nelson. He plays a really bad comedian. It was made around the same time Shakes, and Wayne Newton's in it.
They had you just dripping with sweat.
Well, and that's what he is. He's just and I can't remember. Does he have? I feel like he might have a growth. It's one of those movies where there's a talking growth on somebody.
It sounds like a Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yeah, but that's an actual genre unto itself. There's a lot of movies where someone's growth starts talking to them.
You've moved towards the directing role. You have Joyride with Dana Gould, World's Greatest Dad. Do you have anything that you're working on?
I have an unfinished Lost Ed Wood film that Dana and I are filming the missing scenes and creating hopefully a film that's that Ed would be happy with.
That is fantastic. I can't wait to see
Yeah,
that.
it's unreleased, lost. People thought it was gone, but yeah. So that's what I'm working on right now.
What percentage of missing scenes are you filling?
I think when we get done, it'll probably be like another 20 minutes of stuff. But the movie itself is also the behind the scenes and the making of and a bunch of other stuff, because nothing has been simple. And so that'll all be in the movie.
Well, I am excited to see it. And I know that you can catch Bobcat in the upcoming Chop and Steal documentary that touring around, which I got to see it when it was at Tribeca, and it's fantastic. So highly recommend that to everyone as well. Bobcat, thank you so much for taking
thank you. Thanks. Glad to be help.
A delight talking Tales from the Crypt with the one and only Bobcat Goldthwait. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So who would have thought that Bobcat Goldthwait was going to show up in my office just to talk to me about Tales from the Crypt? I certainly didn't. Be sure to check out Bobcat's new comedy special that just dropped. Thanks, Bobcat. We love you. Oh, look what the cat dragged in.
Yes, look at a human hairball. I'm like a cat dragged in like a dead bird. I'm the dead bird of show business.
And the dead bird of show business is, of course, Bobcat Goldthwait.
Bob Scratch Goldfarb, yes.
Well, the last time we spoke, we were talking Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
I realized the one question that I didn't ask you was, who did the voice of Morty?
That's a good question. I don't know. Was it Rickles?
I don't know. It's not in the credits. He has a costume wardrobe credit, but there's no voice credit, and I wondered if it was you.
It's not. It must have been me then. Yeah, I'm going to say yes, it was me. I'm sure it was me. Is it different? Is it much different than my voice?
I'm the one who's finally free.
I'm making an asshole casserole, pal, and you're the main ingredient.
It sounded like it very much could have came from your pipes.
I'm
That's
sure.
why I had to.
My pipes.
The people want to know. Anything you want to leave the people?
Yeah, Paul Dano's a great actor. And he doesn't have a history of working with rapists or defending child rapists. There's my exclusive.
You heard it here first.
And now, a sneak preview of upcoming video cassette releases.
Ladies and gentlemen, won't you please give a warm welcome to the comedy stylings of Mr. Marty Malt.
Marty Malt has to be the worst stand-up comic I have ever had the misfortune to see.
What are you being so picky for? I'm reminded tonight of something that happened to me the other day. I went to the post office to get some stamps.
Even you didn't laugh. I was laughing on the inside.
You're not funny, Martin.
Oh, you got a bite, man. What? Oh, on your back, bug bite or something.
The doctor will see you now.
Here's where your problem is. We could always cut it off.
And this giant boot came down from the ceiling and stabbed me on the head.
Marty, what happened? Look at your lump.
I am sick and tired of you little mama boys coming in here every time you have an abrasion or a hand going on the back or whatever.
Taxi stinks.
Look, Marty, it's all over between the two of us. I can't love a man with 3 hands.
You can have your pick of either Shirley or Pickles. Both drunk and ready to be taken advantage of. Ooh. Do I have a headache?
It's real!
We'd like to book him on next week's show. Keep in mind that a limo will be waiting for you.
We're going to Hollywood!
Starring Judd Nelson,
My name is Marty Malt.
Bill Paxton,
It's Gussie Pussy.
Wayne Newton,
Yes, Jackie Chrome?
Lara Flynn Boyle,
I love you, Marty Malt.
James Caan,
I'm a doctor.
Rob Lowe,
Dirk Delta.
The Dark Backward.
We're going to Hollywood, and we're going to be big stars.
That's my boy! That's my
glamorous a profession, but the way I see it in this economy, any job is a good job. Like, get me out of here!
Hence Comedy Central's Get Me Out of Here contest. The grand prize, a year of cruising on Norwegian Cruise Line ships. And 20,000 clams. Bucks! 20,000 bucks.
Perhaps the greatest prize, Bob, is the private screening of your new movie, Shakes the Clown.
Perhaps. I'm darn proud of Shakes the Clown. In fact, I'm willing to throw in the polka dot convertible featured in the film.
So don't delay. Wipe that viscera off your hands and send a postcard to Get Me Out of Here, P.O. Box 1438, Ridgely, Maryland 21683.
Fish heads are nice, but a year of cruising has its charm.
The most watched cable network, HBO.
Levy and Gruen, attorneys.
Hi, I'm Hal Levy. We've handled thousands of injury claims. Folks call us because they know we'll discuss and personally handle their case. At Levy and Gruen, you need no money to start your car accident or job injury claim.
I'm Mike Gruen. We're easy to reach with offices downtown at Southgate and in Willoughby. When you're hurt in a car accident, call Hal or me. When winning counts, count on Levy and Gruen.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, up at Taco Bell. For Cinco de Mayo, the very best, just 59 cents or less. For Cinco de Mayo, bean burritos, tacos, pintos, and cheese. Soft tacos, tostadas too. For Cinco de Mayo, baby, you better run for the border.
Play Cinco Madness. Win a trip to Cancun, Mexico, or free food prizes.
Run for the border.
Cleveland likes it wild. Cleveland likes it crazy. And Cleveland likes it oh so sexy. So Cleveland's gonna love when JVC Kaboombox presents the return of the World Wrestling Federation live to Gund Arena Saturday night, October 10th. We've sold out the last 2 times here at the Gund, and tickets start as low as $13. Break it down with D-Generation X. Smell what The Rock and the Nation are cooking. Check out Kane and so much more October 10th.
TV5's Eyewitness News Watchers are on the job. If your video camera catches a newsworthy event, call the News Watcher hotline at 431-4210. Denny Rothel's camera captured these dramatic scenes of a fire in Concord. And Lindsay Smith's camera was rolling as the FBI questioned passengers aboard a Cleveland-bound flight about a possible bomb on the plane. Be a part of the Eyewitness News team. Call 431-4210. Join the Eyewitness News Watchers.
Husbands, wives, and sex.
And Linda Hirsch has Soap Scoops Monday.
Bonanza, NBC Wednesday. The church calls it a miracle. Her predictions have all come true. But one vision has been a secret until now. Unsolved Mysteries. Then, meet a man and his 9 wives who say they have the perfect marriage.
I really see it as a feminist lifestyle.
Now. And the deadly cult, the dangerous prophet.
The plagues will visit the wicked.
Could New York be the next Waco? Law and Order after Unsolved Mysteries and Now. November Bonanza, NBC Wednesday.
Dottie dated a criminal, and then she fixed up the rest of the family with convicts. Meet a whole family who dates convicts on the next Oprah.
Monday at 4 on TV5.
Hey guys, I'm Harrison Lange, owner of Static Tape in Muskegon, Michigan, and the Tales from the Crypt episode I always really enjoyed was The Thing from the Grave. And I always enjoyed that because, I mean, who doesn't love a good zombie ghoul love story? You got a great looking zombie, and what always stuck out to me is it doesn't quite do what most zombies do when you think of zombies. It goes after the man that wronged him, and it buries him alive in the grave that the zombie came out of. And that always stuck out to me because I can't think of anything more terrifying than being buried alive with the crime that you've committed. I just always thought that was so awesome.
My favorite
Oh boy, Lenora has a lot of tapes to put away. Hi! Carmine, what the hell are you doing here?
You left me in a drop box at Family Video. That's not a family, and they closed up shop. I only made it out because they donated everything to Goodwill.
Oh boy, I guess what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas.
You're darn right it doesn't. Do you have any idea how hard it was to track you down?
Yeah, I'm not on Facebook for a reason.
Wow! Aren't you a little young to be smoking? Listen, Toots! I don't tell you how to do your job. I guess the tape doesn't fall far from the spool.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can't rewind this one.
Carl, how did Carmine even happen?
Oh boy, I was so drunk, I can't remember what tape player I got into that night. But from the looks of things, it must have been a beta.
Hey!
Season 3 had a lot to live up to after Season 2, and it did not disappoint. Here we go. By Season 3, Tales not only had killer ratings, but it had become the show to be a part of. The 14 episodes of Season 3 would bring in even more star power than Season 2, with A-list actors appearing both in front of and behind the camera. Given the immense Rolodex of all of the show's producers combined, they had their pick of the litter of A-list actors to cast the show with, and top talent was in no shortage for Season 3. Even more actors turned up this season to direct, with the benefit being twofold for the show. If an actor wanted to direct an episode, they also agreed to make a cameo in their directed episode so that the series could use their appearance as marketing for the show. With Tales from the Crypt being well known for its grisly content, actors had the ability to finally play nasty, evil characters that they normally wouldn't in an accepted and expected environment without getting labeled a horror movie actor. Much like seeing a well-known actor in aged makeup, the audience also loved seeing good actors turn bad, and Tales from the Crypt let them run free. Episode number 33, Undertaking Parlor, is absolutely adorable, and I feel like it is a completely underappreciated episode. Okay, I have now learned that this episode is in fact called Undertaking Parlor. For years, I have thought it was called Undertaking Parlor. Years. I have nothing to say except I am in fact a product of public schools. Undertaking Parlor is one of my favorite episodes of the series, and it's a unique entry in that the plot is centered around a group of kids who sneak into a morgue one night and discover the Undertaker is not only a total weirdo, but is also in cahoots with a local pharmacist, killing people with poison prescriptions and then upcharging their funerals in an elaborate scheme to make money. They decide to take matters into their own hands after the pharmacist kills one of the boys, Josh's father. Josh is played by Ke Huy Quan, who you of course know as Data from The Goonies and Short Round from Indiana Jones. The episode then turns to a shot-on-video adventure as they film themselves investigating the pharmacist and coroner. It's a fun adventure plot with a wicked twist, and it feels like a perfect comic book has come to life. This is another episode that I could easily have imagined making a great full-length movie, and I would have happily watched it.
Watch the birdie!
The camaraderie between the boys is a joy to watch, and it feels similar to the friendships in The Goonies and the It television miniseries. John Glover does not disappoint as the grave-faced coroner, and he makes the perfect villain with an even better death. Split Second is an absolutely crazy episode of Season 3, and honestly, it's one of my favorites. You could say it's a deep cut. Split Second is another favorite episode of mine, and it stars Brian James, who you know from The Horror Show.
I thought you were dead.
Michelle Johnson, and Hunky Billy Worth from The Lost Boys, but here with his hair, he feels like Diet Keanu Reeves. Brian James plays a lunatic foreman who keeps a tight leash on not only his crew, but also his much younger and extremely listless wife. When new hired Ted shows up on the job site, Dixon's bored wife sets her sights on him, forgetting or simply not caring that her husband has the tolerance range of a honey badger. I mean, after watching him chop all that wood with his bare hands, I get it. Despite initially refusing her advances, attractive people wind up doing what attractive people do, and her husband finds out and goes ballistic, blinding Ted. The crew takes advantage of Ted's blindness and lets him unknowingly have revenge while they watch. It's a great revenge episode entry, and the end segment even features Joel Silver in a cameo. The Trap is a super fun entry directed by Michael J. Fox. The plot revolves around the out-of-work scumbag Lou, played by Bruce McGill, who you'll remember as D-Day from Animal House, his wife Irene, played by Terry Garr, and Lou's coroner brother Billy, played by Bruno Kirby. Lou loses his pizza delivery job and decides to take up the always foolproof life insurance scam by faking his own death in order for his reluctant wife to cash in on the money. He ropes his equally reluctant coroner brother in on the ruse to make sure that he looks really dead and runs off to Rio to get plastic surgery and wait it out while they cash in. Of course, Irene and Billy discover that they're actually much happier together in Lou's absence, and after he travels back home with a new face, Irene and Billy are happily married and pretend that they don't know him at all. And since his murder had previously been unsolved with his own fingerprints on the murder weapon, it's an open and shut case of premeditated mistaken identity with him as the killer while he tries to maintain his innocence.
Blow me.
Michael J. Fox makes good on his cameo and clearly had a blast directing this one. Episode number 37, Spoiled, is so good, you'd say it's fresh. I hate myself again. Spoiled is a favorite episode of mine. It stars Faye Grant as a housewife addicted to her favorite soap opera. I love the wardrobe in this. While her doctor husband is addicted to his work in the basement, leaving her ignored in the process. Anthony LaPaglia plays Abel the Cable Man, who stops by when her service cuts out, and there's immediate sparks. Now Janet's listlessness takes over, and she and Abel the Cable Guy catapult into reckless territory as a result. Now, if only she had also been paying more attention to her spouse, she would have realized that her husband was playing mad scientist during all of those hours in the basement, so that when he discovers their affair, he uses a few experiments of his own to try out on the two of them. I love the corny soap opera episode within the episode. I love the self-aware winks at the camera.
But I had to come back. We had to work out some of the kinks.
Turn that off.
And mostly, I just love Anthony LaPaglia because it's Joe from Empire Records. The episode Abracadaver is another standout. It's got Beau Bridges as Marty, Tony Goldwyn as Carl, and horror anthology king Tom Wright. Carl and Marty are brothers who are constantly trying to outdo one another with pranks. Marty's had it out for Carl after a prank gone wrong years ago gave Marty a heart attack. Now Marty has a few tricks up his sleeve, including a secret serum he developed from Haiti that mimics death while the mind is still alive and takes the opportunity to test it on his brother. The perfect dynamic power play between the two brothers and Carl's inner dialogue as he's realizing what's happening to him while he inches closer and closer to an autopsy is truly terrifying. There's nothing scarier than imagining being conscious while being dead.
Please don't hang me! Ah! Marty! No, please get me down, please!
It's an episode that has so many perfect tales from the Crypt ingredients in it: deception, revenge, and of course, a satisfying twist. Love to Death is another perfect entry in the Be Careful What You Wish For category, with 80s heartthrob Andrew McCarthy playing a writer who gets lost in his own fantasies about his landlord. He tracks down a love potion to use on her that winds up working a little too well. Carrie and Death is an incredible episode starring stunner Kyle MacLachlan as Diggs, who's a criminal on the run. Now, this is a wonderfully tense episode, and it is brilliantly carried on by Kyle MacLachlan as he tries to outrun the cop who catches him. He winds up successfully shooting the cop.
Fuck you!
But just before the policeman dies, he manages to handcuff himself to Diggs and swallows the keys. So now, instead of being on the lam, he's doing a play on Weekend at Bernie's and dragging around a dead body in the desert while patiently being waited out by a vulture. It's a brilliant adaptation of the original story, and the end scene is unforgettable. Other notable episodes for me in Season 3 include Dead Weight, directed by Tobe Hooper, and stars Whoopi Goldberg and James Ramirez Cheekbones. The Reluctant Vampire is a really fun entry with Malcolm McDowell, George Wendt, and horror movie sweetheart Michael Berryman. Top billing stars John Lovitz as a desperate actor who kills the lead in a production of Hamlet in order to get his part. Little does he know that he's cast himself in a part to die for. Look, I'm sorry, sometimes they just write themselves. The series had already hit its stride with season 3, but season 4 was truly one for the ages. There were so many standout episodes in this season, I don't even know where to begin, but we'll start with this one. Episode 43, What's Cooking? One of my favorite episodes of the entire series. It's got Meatloaf, it's got Judd Nelson. What more do you need? If you need more than that, that's on you. What's Cooking is a series top tier episode for me, starring Christopher Reid, Bess Armstrong, Art LaFleur, Judd Nelson, and even Meatloaf. Fred and Irma are a married couple who own a failing squid diner. You heard me right, and are desperate to come up with anything to attract new business in the door. They find themselves up to their eyeballs in overdue rent, and the landlord, Mr. Chumley, who's played by Meatloaf, is out of patience.
I'm gonna be back tomorrow with an eviction notice.
Diner employee Gaston, played by Judd Nelson, tries to convince them to switch it up from squid to meat, insisting that he has a great barbecue recipe.
Recipe for barbecue.
Barbecue? Any idiot can do barbecue.
Not my barbecue.
But they're reluctant to make the move.
Thanks for your help, but I pay you to clean up. Now just clean up, okay?
Later that day, Chumley gives Fred an ultimatum: pay up or get out, and in a fit of frustration, Fred stabs Mr. Chumley's hand. Chumley runs off to call the police.
I'm calling the cops! You hear that?
While Gaston watches the whole thing. Convinced they're done for, Fred is ready to pack things up the next morning when the local sheriff stops in and tells them Chumley has actually disappeared at the same convenient time that Gaston informs them that he got a real great deal on some steaks that are also conveniently already in the fridge.
But you know that barbecue idea that I was talking about? Spoke with this supplier that I know, and he gave me a really good deal. I hope you're not angry with me.
I ain't angry, I'm starved. Come on, let's throw one of those babies on the grill.
They cook one up for the sheriff, and within seconds, more people are pouring into the diner than ever before.
Whatever you've got cooking on that grill smells incredible. Throw one on for me, would you? Make that 2 of them.
Now, I'm sure you can guess where the steaks are coming from. The body of Meatloaf swaying in the walk-in is truly gross and impressive. Business is booming, which you can tell because Irma now has a scarf tied around her shoulders, which always spells money, but Fred is still wrestling with where the steaks came from. All good things must eventually come to an end, and of course, despite the partnership eventually growing stale with profits and greed, it's Fred and Irma who inevitably have the last laugh. I love the serious campiness of this episode. It's a blast seeing Christopher Reeve in a reluctant cannibal role, and Judd Nelson is a delight. The added bonus of Meatloaf as the food source for a small business just trying to make it is hilarious, and I just love this episode. It was co-written by Gil Adler and Al Katz, who teamed up on several Tales from the Crypt episodes, 11 to be precise, along with Bordello of Blood and Freddy's Nightmares. New Arrival takes a Mount Rushmore top spot in terms of Tales from the Crypt episodes that scared the shit out of me as a kid. There's something about the buildup of tension, the girl in the mask, and then the final reveal with the makeup effects. It's just, here, you'll see. The New Arrival is an over-the-top story about a child psychologist played by the late, great David Warner with a call-in show.
Thanks for the call. Next, Bonnie.
It's our friend from Lawndale, Dr. Getz.
One of his frequent call-ins is a woman played by Zelda Rubinstein.
Nora?
Hello, Dr. Getz.
And now I don't even need to tell you where she's from.
Carol Ann.
But she pesters him daily with questions about her daughter Felicity.
Hi, it's 4 days since you last called, Nora? How's little Felicity getting along?
Well,
burning the house down?
Not at all.
Writing on the wall with feces?
No, of course not.
Trying to electrocute the cat?
She's taking to banging her head against the wall. Really hard.
Lady, are you aware that you are the epitome of the inept parent and that your little Felicity is the ultimate problem child?
Does that mean you're not coming?
On the contrary. I'm going to originate good psychology from your home every day until little Felicity is a fully functioning little girl. We're making a house call.
You can't do that, Get.
Good psychology beats bad behavior every time.
Believing his parenting methods to be foolproof and superior, he agrees to visit their home to try and instill some tough love techniques to help Felicity behave and boost his ratings. He and his radio crew arrive, and yes, that's model Twiggy, at the house to discover that they were completely unprepared who Felicity and her mother really are.
Are you
Nora.
That's me, Felicity's mommy. Ah! Oh, hell, she's doing it again. Felicity? Felicity, please stop.
This episode was directed by Peter Medak, who also directed The Changeling, which meant he knew his way around a creepy, humongous house and exactly how to pace the story. It was written by Ron Finley, who wrote several Tales from the Crypt episodes, including Undertaking Parlor. This episode never gets old for me. Felicity never speaks once, and she doesn't need to. The initial sighting of Felicity quickly running in the background or across the foreground is extremely unsettling, and even her simple Stark mask is effectively creepy on its own. All of that builds up to the real scare for me, which comes at the end when the mask falls off.
Stop it! You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Mommy, darling. I know what you're thinking.
And the doctor realizes he is not Felicity's first doctor. The initial minimal glimpses of Felicity with her mask on to the startling reveal completely prove that less is more. This episode terrified me as a kid. When we finally see her true identity, that face stayed with me for years after I first saw it. The cockiness of David Warner, warring with his boss, perfectly played by Joan Severance, is spot on, and it's even got a Robert Patrick cameo.
Have you seen this boy?
For me, it doesn't get much better than this episode. Strung Along is written and directed by Kevin Yeager, and this episode, probably in the top 3 of the episodes that scared the crap out of me as a child. In Strung Along, we've got legendary vaudeville stage and screen actor Donald O'Connor from Singin' in the Rain as Joseph, a once famous puppeteer with his clown marionette Coco. His seemingly supportive, albeit much younger wife, encourages him to revamp his act and take it back on stage with the help of a young apprentice named David. David is played by Zach Galligan, who you of course know from Gremlins 1 and 2. They begin working together on a new act when Joseph's wife begins to balk at just how much David is pushing his material.
Well, he came up with the idea, and I liked it.
Joe, you've been winning Emmy Awards for writing since before he was born. We hired him to help you with the show, not change the act.
All I did was update the material from the 50s to the 90s.
So who's running this show now, you or him?
You okay, Joe?
I'm fine.
By the way, how long have you been cheating on your husband?
How dare you? How fucking dare you talk to me
Stop
like
it,
that?
you two. Will you please stop it?
One evening, Joseph is shocked when he discovers Coco has come to life and walks in the middle of Coco killing his wife. That scene of the marionette clown repeatedly stabbing his wife on the ground stuck with me for years. Why are tiny things with knives so creepy? I wish I had a knife. Joseph has a heart attack and drops dead on the spot. However, the tables are turned when it's revealed it was all just an elaborate ruse plotted by David, who's actually a puppeteer named Rick, and Joseph's wife, because they are, of course, in fact, lovers. But there's another twist within the twist when it is revealed that they used a look-alike mechanical puppet to serve as murderous Coco. They might not have needed to go to such great lengths because, unbeknownst to them, the real Coco is actually quite mobile and equally capable of enacting revenge. Split Personality is an over-the-top episode that stars Joe Pesci as a ravenous gambler whose appetite for twins is as insatiable as his love for blackjack. He meets a pair of stunning twins who are also exceedingly wealthy and somehow convinces the two of them that he is also a twin and marries both of them without ever being in the same room as his twin brother. Two Joe Pescis land two wealthy hot twins.
Whoa, ladies. Vic told me you were a couple of radical babes, but I must confess to being totally stoked and overwhelmed.
None of this adds up, so of course something must be wrong with these chicks, right? Right. It's a completely chaotic episode with Joe Pesci being full tilt Pesci for 23 straight minutes. You can't get away from it.
You dig?
It's fun, it's gory, it's got a chainsaw, and once the twins discover his con, they solve the problem of there being only one Joe Pesci by splitting the difference. It's got everything a Tales from the Crypt episode should have.
Life's a bitch, ain't it, Wong?
Maniac at Large is another one of my favorite episodes of the series. It's got books, it's got Blythe Danner, it's got a serial killer. It's a perfect episode. This episode wins my heart immediately by taking place in a large, moody library where the setting is already at peak tension due to a murderer being on the loose. Blythe Danner plays a perfect on-edge librarian whose suspicions and paranoia mount as the evening goes on and she is told she has to work after hours. There are plenty of suspects for her to be wary of, with each being more likely than the next until the final scene shows that sometimes it's actually ourselves who we should be the most scared of. Blythe Danner is exceptional at being unassuming, and I cannot think of anyone better to have played her part. Other standout Season 4 episodes to me are None But the Lonely Heart, which is a slam dunk directed by Tom Hanks. Treat Williams plays a perfect douchebag who scours dating tapes and picks off the wealthy older women in order to secure their fortunes. Someone, however, knows what he's up to and starts sending him I know what you did last summer style letters, and his paranoia mounts. It's a classic style revenge Tales from the Crypt episode when he finally meets his makers. On a Dead Man's Chest is a nasty little tale about a man who can't stand his bandmate's girlfriend, and for literally no reason. I think this guy is secretly in love with her, and how could you not be? It's Tia Carrere. She was the first woman to make me question my own sexuality. He gets a tattoo, from Heavy D of all people, that winds up looking just like her in a further attempt to drive him insane. Following in similar steps to Season 3's top billing, Beauty Rest follows a model who is furious her rival model roommate wins a gig that she had her sights on and decides to eliminate the competition and swap herself in for her now missing roommate.
What do you mean I didn't get the job? What have you got against me having a career? Why is it that every time somebody gets really close to casting me, you suddenly show up with your legs spread?
I have never done that. And that's my ice cream.
So? No friend will ever do to me what you did.
But I haven't done anything.
Said George. Sweet dreams, you little tramp. By the time you wake up, your little spokesmodeling job will be mine.
This winds up being a beauty pageant, but little does she realize that she killed her way to being crowned the winner of not just any beauty pageant, but Miss Autopsy 1992.
Every ounce, 'cause it's what's inside that counts.
Werewolf Concerto is a wonderfully goofy whodunit mystery with all of the overacting guests trapped in a hotel trying to guess who is and isn't a werewolf that you could ever want. It's got Timothy Dalton, Beverly D'Angelo, and even Reginald Val Johnson.
There's a killer stalking this place.
Now, I can't go on about Season 4 without mentioning that King of the Road stars a young Brad Pitt doing his best James Dean impression, and this episode, along with Showdown and the episode Yellow from Season 3, were actually originally all shot with the intention of being a 90-minute pilot episode for a new anthology series based on the comic and also titled Two-Fisted Tales that would have appeared on the Fox network. This anthology series would have been focused on action versus horror. And Tales from the Crypt alum, Bill Sadler, he was set to be the host. However, making the leap from the freedom HBO allowed to the censorship Fox was demanding just proved to be too difficult for the producers. So unfortunately, the idea was scrapped and the 3 segments were just absorbed back into Tales from the Crypt episodes.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Just kidding, it's me. The Cryptkeeper.
Just kidding, it's me. Hi, I'm Spencer, at Discount Cemetery. What's my favorite Tales from the Crypt episode? Great question. I gotta think about it. The greatest moment in Tales from the Crypt history is Bobcat Goldthwait almost getting his head chopped off by Don Rickles yielding a meat cleaver. I got it. What's cooking? It's a Gilbert Adler joint. Is he a big-name celebrity director like Tom Hanks? No. But that's okay, I'm not Tom Hanks either. We have a star-studded cast here. We have Art LaFleur, Bess Armstrong, Meatloaf, Bat Outta Hell Meatloaf, Judd Nelson, Jimmy Wing from Palantine Records. He doesn't know a damn thing about rock and roll. Can you give him your unsolicited material? No, you can't do that. But cream always rises, super duper. Oh yeah, and he was also in some little indie thing, The Breakfast Club. Chris Reeves was also in it. Superman, hello? You have a local restaurant in a small town struggling to keep the lights on. Their menu consists of only squid. Then they add a new menu item that's truly to die for. The moral of the story is, start your own small business and maybe eat your landlord. See ya.
Wendy's 99-cent super value menu is full of delicious choices you can't get anyplace else, like junior bacon cheeseburgers, chili and baked potatoes, plus a $1.99 hamburger kids meal. Great news if you always end up with the check.
At Radio Shack, we've always made the latest technology easy to understand for your family. And now our CD-ROM computers make it easy to bring entire libraries to life. Experience the power of Tandy multimedia computers. Only at Radio Shack.
Here in Hidden Valley, we've discovered the secret that gets kids to eat their salads. Introducing new flavors just for kids. Pizza ranch salad dressing, taco ranch, and nacho cheese ranch. When you combine the freshness of Hidden Valley with flavors kids love, just watch those leafy greens disappear. Fresh from Hidden Valley, fun new flavors just for kids.
NBC Monday Night Movie will return following these messages.
Tonight on Jay's show, Jaleel White.
NBC voted one of the top 5 most respected networks in the United States.
And on Conan's show, Ed Koch. Tonight.
It's a jungle out there, so today I'm wearing my zebras and carefree panty shields. You might think any panty shield would do. Not true. For fresher panties and a fresher me, I switched to carefree. Fact is, more women agree carefree keeps you feeling fresher than the next leading brand. See, Carefree has 1, 2, 3 layers for freshness. Fresher panties, fresher you. That's Carefree. I'm so fresh, I feel like a tiger. Ooh, should have worn my tigers. Wednesday.
It's a wonderful day.
Look who's snowbound with their favorite girls.
What are we going to do?
Perfect strangers. Then, are the kids ready for Uptown?
What's your sign?
Sagittarius?
No, that's you. Him.
Head of the class.
Now, surely you'll remember from our pilot episode that I sat through the entire closing credits sequence of the Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead VHS tape only to sit through the entire Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead 1/900 number $1 million contest. I never did find out who won that contest. Well, that changes today.
And here's how you do it. First, grab your pencil and paper,
Dear Warner Brothers, my name is Lenora, and I'm writing to you to inquire about your Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead contest that was at the end of the VHS tape. I think...
Hey, Lenora, why are you talking like that?
It's my letter-writing voice, Carl. In the 11.5 minutes of terms and conditions, you mentioned that you could send away for a list of the contest winners. I would like to know if I won the contest, and if I didn't, who did. Yours in trust and love, Lenora. With season 5, we have one of the craziest episodes of the entire series, and I cannot wait to talk about it. Now, by this point in the series run, the show was overflowing with talent, and every episode had mega star power cameos just spilling out of every corner. It had become its expected hook. It had also begun to dwindle in episode order. Season 2 had topped out at 20 episodes, while season 5 would have 13. But first, we'll take a look at a few of my other favorite episodes from this season. Starting with Forever Ambergris. Ambergris? I don't know how to say that.
Forever Ambergris.
We've got Roger Daltrey from The Who playing combat photographer Dalton alongside Steve Buscemi as a fellow photographer, Ike. They're deep in the trenches in South America, and it's more than obvious that Dalton is jealous of the younger Ike's photographic eye. He takes advantage of having inside knowledge about a germ warfare-ridden village named Valmalara. He talks up the assignment, and after Ike expresses interest, he manipulates Ike into going there alone with the agreement that they'll share in the photo credits together. Ike returns after visiting the village and brings back some incredible shots, along with some incredible sickness. I'm not sure what Dalton thought was going to happen sharing a tent with him, but that's a lot of germs. This is easily one of the grossest episodes of the series, and I love it. We have effects artist Todd Masters to thank for that, as he was the mastermind behind pulling the effects for this episode and many other Tales from the Crypt episodes. He has said that while he enjoyed having just about as much artistic freedom as an effects artist could have on a television show, that this very episode, which Masters described as very gooey, was the one and only time where they got a call from producer Richard Donner saying that they had crossed the line after seeing an extremely realistic prosthetic explode on Buscemi's face. Now, Ike's face still essentially melts off along with his eyeball, so if that was what made it to the final cut, I can only imagine what was considered to be too far to stay in the edit. After Ike passes away, the smug Dalton steals Ike's shots and takes full credit for the photos. He also tries to steal Ike's surviving wife immediately after the funeral, but she has a secret of her own that she passes on to Dalton as the final revenge for purposely sending her husband off to die. House of Horror is a total blast of an episode with fraternity pledges gone wrong. It's a variable who's who bingo card of 80s and 90s stars with Keith Coogan, Courtney Gaines, Jason London, Meredith Salinger, Will Wheaton, Michael DeLuise, and Kevin Dillon. The fraternity pledges are sent into a haunted mansion for the night, but it quickly becomes one of those, okay, so we set up a bunch of pranks to make it seem like this house is haunted by an axe murderer, but we didn't realize that this house actually is haunted, and now we can't tell what's real and what isn't. Whoops. The tag-along sorority sisters who initially sold themselves as possibly being interested in the fraternity are indeed interested, but mostly because, surprise, they're chainsaw-wielding vampires who like to party. Vampire chicks with chainsaws? Sold.
Let's go, girls.
2 for the Show is a great Telltale Heart style entry that has David Paymer playing a man who discovers his wife, played by Tracy Lords, is having an affair and kills her in a fit of rage. An officer shows up to investigate, but ultimately turns up nothing. Now, he hides his wife's body in a luggage trunk and hops a train to get out of town that same day, only to find he's on the same exact train as the very police officer who was investigating him. It's got a twist within a twist, and those are the Tales episodes that always deliver what you're least expecting. Other not-to-miss episodes from Season 5 are Came the Dawn with Brooke Shields. She hails a ride while stranded on the side of the road, and also while there's an axe murderer on the loose. It's another one of those great twist-within-a-twist episodes. Well-Cooked Hams is a lot of fun, and it features Billy Zane and Martin Sheen as a couple of magicians, with Billy Zane trying to eliminate the competition. And we know what happens when you try to do that. All right, I saved my favorite for last this time.
I call it Death of Some Salesman.
Death of Some Salesman is an absolute home run in my book. This episode stars Ed Bagley Jr.
Are you selling something?
As a matter of fact,
Tim Curry, and Tim Curry. Ed Bagley Jr. plays a salesman who scams people by selling the grieving family members fake funeral plots. He makes the mistake of stopping at the home of an extremely unique and close-knit family. After a bizarre conversation with Ma and Pa and discovering a head in the fridge, Ma and Pa decide that their hatred of salesmen is going to pay off by way of pawning their daughter Winona off on the salesman.
Well, let's you and me have a talk then, face to face.
Okay. Face to face.
Now, he's absolutely disgusted by her, but in order to get out of there alive and with his head, he tells her that he loves her and agrees to marry her.
The last thing I am is beautiful. I ain't washed in a couple of weeks.
That is so earthy. I love it. This has never happened to me before.
Especially once he learns that Winona's been keeping all of the previous salesmen money down in the basement.
You really think I'm like the Mona Lisa?
The salesman uses a well-timed family fight during the wedding ceremony to try and escape and shoots his new bride while digging up the money in the basement. Now, little does he realize he was the one being scammed the whole time as he dug his own grave for free. Now, I've spoken a few times about the trend of actors in this series during the time period being fitted with extreme prosthetics and makeup to make their character look so physically different from themselves, but this episode absolutely takes the cake.
Well, I'll be damned. I think you do love me.
Playing 3 different characters meant to be in the same room at the same time, sharing conversations, that takes an immense amount of talent to pull off, and Tim Curry is probably one of the only few who could. His mannerisms and facial expressions are absolutely hysterical, and Tim Curry as Winona is truly a gift to the world.
The question is, do you love me?
Of course I love you.
Ed Bagley's reactions to her are fantastic, and I can only imagine how hard it was to keep a straight face while they were filming this. This episode is another product of the genius writing team of Al Katz and Gil Adler, and is also directed by Gil. Once again, we have effects artist Todd Masters and his makeup team to thank for the brilliant transformations.
My favorite Tales from the Crypt episode is called People Who Live in Brass Hearses. It stars the late, great Bill Paxton as a convict named Billy who just gets out of prison and is living back home with his less intelligent brother named Virgil, played by the great Brad Dourif. You learn that Billy served his time from stealing from this ice cream truck supply company warehouse that both brothers worked at, and the first thing he's going to do when he gets out of prison is rob the place again as an act of revenge. And so both brothers concoct a plan to do that. In the meantime, Billy goes outside and speaks with the local ice cream man who does this pretty captivating puppet show that the kids love and can't really figure out how he does without moving his lips. And as Billy is speaking to this man, played by Michael Lerner, by the way, you learn that he is the reason why Billy was in prison in the first place. This man ratted him out and is unapologetic about it, is kind of proud of it. So anyway, they go through with the plans to rob the warehouse. It does not go well, as you can guess, and as a plan B, they decide to rob the ice cream man in his home because they know he makes money hand over fist and has loose bills and everything they assume lying around. What happens at the end is this crazy twist. Things get ultra-violent, and it's just wonderful and delightful, and everything I love about Tales from the Crypt. I won't give it away or anything, but it's just so satisfying. Now, I was an HBO brat growing up. My family just always had it. And so at a young age, I was seeing like original programming, not necessarily the news, First and 10, Let's Do It Again, Dream On, stuff I shouldn't have been seeing at a young age, I don't think, including Tales from the Crypt. And I mention this because typically when you watch a show from beginning to end, like I did, when Tales from the Crypt came on the air until it went off, there tends to be an over-glorification of the earlier seasons, I think. And that may be true with this. I'm guilty of that a lot, but this episode comes later. It comes in the 5th season. And I think what makes it so great is that this is the episode that really, truly encapsulates everything that they were going for from the beginning of this series. The gore, the humor, the twist, the great acting, it's just the perfect episode in my mind. And that's why I love it. Thanks, Lenora. Thanks for asking. I didn't think anyone cared about my opinion.
No, thank you, Bootsy. We all care. Now, Season 6 holds a few memorable episodes for me, with the first being Only Skin Deep. An extremely angry man runs into an ex at a costume party and is in a rancid mood when he decides to try and forget all about it with a sexy masked woman he meets. They go home together, agreeing to never share their identities with each other, but the next morning he tries to forcefully pull her mask off and discovers what's underneath. He also discovers that that is not the only mask she has in her apartment, and he becomes part of the collection. Let the Punishment Fit the Crime stars a perfectly cast Catherine O'Hara as a fast-talking lawyer who gets stuck in small-town court purgatory that feels like a bad dream. The justice system keeps nickel and diming her at every turn with offense after offense, and it's a funny, fast-paced episode that eventually finds O'Hara finally getting a sentence handed to her, that being public defender for life.
No, not this.
Whirlpool is a great episode, directed by none other than Mick Garris, and written, once again, by the Tales Dream Team of Al Katz and Gil Adler. It has nods to Corman's Calamity as it seats itself back at the Tales from the Crypt offices, and Rita Rudner stars as a Tales story artist who is stuck reliving the same day over and over and over again, each time getting worse and worse. It's Groundhog Day, Russian Doll, and Tales from the Crypt all rolled together in a big ball of fun.
Vern, there's something strange going on here.
The Assassin is one of my all-time series favorites. Shelley Hack plays dutiful housewife Mrs. McKay, who is preparing for a dinner party later that evening while her husband's at work. She gets interrupted by an intrusion of agents, played by Corey Feldman, Jonathan Banks, and Chelsea Field, who are trying to find her husband Jeremy. They explain that her husband Jeremy is actually a dangerous top-level ex-CIA operative assassin named Ronald, and Agent Gwen lets it be known that she actually used to be married to him, so she knows what he's capable of. They tell Mrs. McKay that they're there to kill Ronald and nothing is going to stop them. Convinced that they have the wrong house, Mrs. McKay does everything in her power to prove that they have just a case of mistaken identity to no avail.
No. No. You idiots! You have the wrong man! This isn't my husband! This is my husband! This is the man I'm married to, Jeremy McKay, see?
Mrs. McKay holds her own against the agents and in the end proves that perhaps the mistaken identity had been inside the house the entire time. I love how smart and quick this episode is, and I never saw the end coming. The point of view shots mix things up without overdoing it, and the only thing that I wish is that the episode was longer. Tales from the Crypt alum Bill Sadler is back as the Grim Reaper in one of my favorite Cryptkeeper opening sequences. The back and forth between the Cryptkeeper and the Grim Reaper makes me wish that there had been more extended scenes with the Cryptkeeper and a secondary character.
Give me your hand.
Well, kiddies, looks like your pal the Cryptkeeper's in the fright of his life. Death.
It's fitting that we have the Cryptkeeper saying this because the season that follows, season 6, would be its 7th and final curtain for the series. Season 7 would find the series relocating to England, which meant its easy access to the Los Angeles celeb Rolodex from the American side would be axed. However, due to tax problems, it would have its challenges pulling in even easy-to-locate stars. Horror in the Night and The Kidnapper are two episodes I truly do enjoy from Season 7. But like I said in the beginning, I was going to go over episodes that I revisit frequently, and Season 7 just doesn't have as many for me. But I would love to hear any Season 7 advocates and what their favorite episodes are. Despite the changes for Season 7, the one constant that we could count on, the Cryptkeeper. Wait a minute, what's that? With us right now is John Kassir, the storied voice actor.
Hello, creeps.
There he is. You don't even need to see him to know that he's there.
It's the dead gift that keeps on giving.
How did your career get started?
Oh boy. I was not a good student. I became a good student eventually. I was probably closer to an adult by the time I became a good student, but I was dyslexic, which they didn't really know what that was when I was a kid, and they just said that I was lazy and disruptive, which is just of course I was disruptive. I was trying to participate in some way, and that was usually entertaining the masses, usually at the teacher's expense. But so I got involved in plays even as a little kid, and then in high school I really got involved in a lot of the plays. I really realized that I wanted to do this professionally. So I went to college at Towson University, which is also in Baltimore, and they had a good theater department. I went to school, people like John Glover and Dwight Schultz and Isabel Monk and some amazing actors came out of Towson. And while I was there, I was in classes with, still a friend, Charles Rock Dutton, not The Rock, and Eric King from Dexter. And I mean, we had some amazing people in our class of actors. And eventually moved to New York and, learned that theater paid shit and, started making my living street performing in front of the Metropolitan Museum. And a small group of zanies from Towson when we were there, were some of the founding members of I guess you would call it kind of like Baltimore's version of Second City or something. We were more of a sketch comedy group than an improv group, although we did do some improv. But we had taken over a dinner theater space downtown Baltimore, and it became a huge hit. And so I had some experience doing a lot of sketch comedy, and then of course the street performing. And eventually it kind of paid off in that I got in an off-Broadway musical called Three Guys Naked from the Waist Down, which I know sounds like, a bizarre gay review in the Village, which it probably could have been. But it was more the metaphor of what a stand-up comic feels in front of an audience. And when I came in and auditioned, think Dreamgirls. It was a musical, but think Dreamgirls, but with stand-up comics. It was a big hit off-Broadway. And people, I think, just assumed I was a stand-up. I played a very dark, kind of suicidal, Andy Kaufman-ish type character, that weird characters and stuff would pop out of my mouth. And, I'd go hang myself on stage and record it and then walk off, to no laughter. I mean, he was, I say dark, it was dark. All of a sudden, I went from obscurity to that situation in New York as, one of the darlings of the Broadway scene that season. And then all of a sudden, after one of the shows, I get off stage and somebody comes up to me and goes, "Listen, we're talent scouts from a show called Star Search." And I'm like, "Oh, I heard of it. I've seen a few episodes, just had been on that year." And they go, "We want you to come on the show." And I said, "Well, I know there's a musical. What is a singer?" I go, I can sing. I'm in a musical, but I'm no Sam Harris, who was killing it on the show at the time. I was like, I can't compete with that guy. That guy, I mean, he can blow the roof off of most singers. They're like, no, we want you to come on as a stand-up comic. And I'm like, really? I go, I'm not a stand-up comic, right? This is a part I'm playing. They go, well, you can win $100,000. And you're like, fuck, have you seen my act? So I'm like immediately getting my ass in the clubs. And so I wound up in the semifinals up against Rosie O'Donnell, who up until then wasn't known, but had done really well on the show and got herself into the semifinals. And then I beat her, and I got, if you can really say somebody beat somebody as a stand-up is so subjective, but, and then got into the finals against Sinbad, who nobody knew up until that point. But these people had been working the stage. I mean, obviously I was a stage actor, so I was completely comfortable on stage. Beat Sinbad in the finals, and the next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, you're going to open for Tom Jones in Vegas." I was like, "What?" Everybody's congratulating me. I go, "I can't open for Tom Jones in Vegas." They're like, "Why not?" I go, "I got no fucking act. I've been making this shit up 2.5 minutes at a time, I didn't have any real material in terms of jokes and that kind of thing. So I had created this persona of a guy who was addicted to television, and so it was kind of pop culture through television. I was, I could change channels on myself, and, I'd stand up there like I was in an AA meeting and say, I'm a tubaholic. I can, I'm addicted to television. And cartoons were my first addiction. The Merry Melodies and the Looney Tune cartoons were the closest thing to hallucinogenics a 3-year-old could take. And it got me on sitcoms, and it got me, on, doing stand-up on Evening at the Improv and all these different shows. I get my first series on HBO called First and 10, playing a Bulgarian field goal kicker who can kick 60-yard field goals. Is a very funny character. And so few people had HBO back then. And like people don't even, unless they watch the show, they didn't even know that I ever did that part. And I was on it for 6 years. But but when they were decided they were going to do Tales from the Crypt on HBO.
Tales from the Crypt.
I went down to Kevin Yeager's studio where he was, working on the puppet, and where they were having the auditions. They, HBO knew that I did, did these voices and characters and that kind of thing. And they wanted somebody who was an actor who could create a voice for the character, but also could be funny as a stand-up, that kind of thing. And so they invited me down, and I could tell Kevin Yeager was sitting there kind of like, oh, I've been hearing voice after voice. And, I grew up with the comic books. I loved those comic books. I mean, my little cousins and I would go down to my grandfather's little bodega, and they would try to steal the girly magazines off the top shelf, and I'd always like steal it, take the Tales from the Crypt
I love
comic
that.
books, so I knew it had to be fun and funny. And he was kind of like, the Cryptkeeper was there to make you realize this is supposed to be fun, and this is storytelling. And, the way that, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is great. This is kind of like Alfred Hitchcock when he had his series, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. He wasn't scary.
One of my
Oh my
favorites.
God, he was so great. And he used to do puns too, ironically enough. He used to think they were like one of the highest forms of alliteration. So where other people were coming in and trying to make him scary and doing all this stuff, I came in and made him this, cackling bag of bones. And Kevin, who made the puppet. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people, of course, know Kevin's work from making Chucky, building Chucky, and designing Freddy Krueger's makeup. I mean, he's one of the best in the business in terms of practical effects, and he's just an amazing artist and model maker and everything. In fact, he was using Chucky eyes temporarily while he was making the Cryptkeeper puppet. And he had spare parts. They didn't give him much budget to start with, so he was using spare parts, and he literally used Chucky's eyes in the Cryptkeeper. So they were, I think he thought eventually, he would replace him, but they just made him so charming. He had those baby blue eyes that they stuck, with it. But when I started doing it for him, he woke up, he started laughing. He was like, like I said, I start laughing. Oh, great. The Cryptkeeper laughs at his own shit. He started laughing. And when he saw, when I came in and did what he thought it was such a perfect match for what he was doing, that he was like, if you guys don't hire this guy to do it, I'm not even going to do it. He told me that. I mean, he in a podcast not so long ago, he revealed that to me, and I didn't even know that. I was like, oh my God, Kevin, I have you to thank for a lot. Obviously he also did an amazing job. I mean, the iconic Cryptkeeper that we know today is Kevin's work, and the puppeteers, of course, were brilliant in bringing him to life. I would tell the producers, there's kids watching this show. We need to we need to put stuff out there for the kids. And they're like, there's no kids watching this show. It's HBO, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm like, they're watching this show. Trust me. Well, we're making a cartoon. Great, but you should make a live action one for the kids. They're doing Goosebumps, blah, 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 blah. Well, little did we know we didn't even need to make that for the kids, because the kids were watching the room. I mean, what kid would walk by a TV set, hear that voice, see that puppet, and not stop, even if it scared the living hell out of them? I like to tell people that come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I grew up with you, and you were my first horror." And I was like, "Well, the Cryptkeeper is the gateway drug to horror." And I'm expecting them to laugh, and they go, yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't even laugh at it. They just like accept the fact that that's real,
That's, to me, what I think the beauty of Tales from the Crypt is, being the gateway to horror, because you have these two wonderful elements that come together so perfectly, comedy and horror. And yes, they may be on paper two complete opposites, but the juxtaposition when you marry them together is so appealing. And I as a youth grew up without cable, so I did not have HBO. The best part of my week was Saturday night. It cut into my SNL time, but they would air syndicated Tales from the Crypt episodes. I think this started in 1994, maybe. They would air them on at 11:30, at 11:30 at night. And even though they were edited for television, when something's good, even if it's edited, it comes through. And you didn't, I wasn't seeing all the necessary gore, but they still scared the hell out of me because so well done. And the Crypt Keeper was absolutely what drew me in.
So many people tell me, they weren't allowed to watch the episodes, but they were allowed to watch the Crypt Keeper sequences, or they didn't watch the episodes because they were too gory or creepy for them, but they loved the Crypt Keeper sequences. But, when you put it all together, they worked really hard to make it feel like the comic book.
There were so many great collectible bits of merchandise. What has been your favorite product to come out of the Tales from the Crypt line?
I mean, we did everything from, the Crypt Keeper's own rap song with a video. And Kevin Yeager directed that video, by the way. It's brilliant.
I did not realize that. That's
Chucky Booker wrote it, who used to write wrote music for Janet Jackson and stuff over the years, as well as himself. He's really talented.
The Crypt Keeper's in the house with a groove that's nasty and mean, like the effects of a guillotine. A permanent headache's the end of the mission, 'cause you have entered the Keeper's terror vision.
And the next thing you know, we're gonna do Not Scary Farms, and he would have something going with the Crypt Keeper, and it would be so much fun. And but he goes, "We're doing a Christmas album." I go, "Oh my God, that's brilliant!" So I expected to come in and there'd be some kind of, canned music or something. They had gotten an orchestra. They did the beautiful arrangements of all the music, and then they just cut me loose for 2 days to record song after song, throwing in whatever fun stuff or Jack and I would come up with. I really think that's like one of the most fun things we did. Obviously, the movies were great. Demon Knight just has a superior cast to what you normally see, and a superior soundtrack is amazing. And Ernest Dickerson did an amazing job shooting it. And, Billy Zane, came out of his shell playing something that he had never, in a way that he's never got to play before. And he just had a blast doing it. People still love getting his signature on it, the photos of the Demon Knight poster, just because, and of all the stuff that he's done, there's a separate fan base just for his work in Demon Knight. And of course, William Sattler was unbelievable.
I know that we're all, our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter with technology, but I think that it's more of a challenge when you can successfully tell an entire story like that. I think it's far harder to do in a shorter, like the shorter amount of time.
Oh, no doubt. Everything gets abridged, everything gets indicated. But Tales from the Crypt, they're all taken right out of the comic book, except for the Three Pigs, which was the last episode, which was animated brilliantly by my old friend Bill Kopp.
Do you have a favorite issue, and do you have a favorite episode, which I know is so hard probably for you to choose, given that you have not only directed an episode, but you've also been in one?
I remember going down and watching Tim Curry play Winona in Death of Some Salesman. And he was, that day he was, anybody who knows that episode knows that he played the mother, the father, and the daughter. Just three of the most disgustingly creepy characters you'd ever want to meet. But they're hysterical. He was nominated for an Emmy for that role, for his performance in that. He was incredible. As far as episodes go, that's one of my favorites for sure. Always loved, from the comic book and the way that they made it, Ventriloquist's Dummy, which was with Bobcat Goldthwait and Don Rickles, and they were brilliant together. But the episode is wonderful. That was Richard Donner that directed that episode, and he did an amazing job. anytime we've tried to get the rights back, we haven't been able to get the rights back for years from EC Comics in order to do more Tales from the Crypt. And anytime they talked about it, like, well, maybe, the puppeteers are hard to find these days. It's expensive, blah, 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 blah. Maybe we'll do CGI or something like that. And I was just like, it just wouldn't have the same effect. The fact that he was a puppet was was a really integral element to how long the show has been around, still popular, and drew kids in. The fact that he was a puppet, I think, was important. Although a lot of people don't know that. They're like, how'd you get that makeup on your face? I was like, I lost a lot of weight. A lot of people ask me, were you the voice in the first couple of seasons or the first episodes? He kind of sounds a little different. And I was like, I auditioned. What you hear and what you hear me goofing around with, and what the Cryptkeeper became, is what I auditioned for Kevin. But when we got into the studio and I started doing it for me, it's like, listen, the mouth, we didn't have that many servos. It was an expensive show to do, and they hadn't given them, the show wasn't, a success yet. So they didn't give them a lot of money to really work with. So the mouth moved like this. There really wasn't that much movement to the mouth. So I was like, how about if he talks slower and more ominously, but still funny and creepy? He goes, great. And that's because that's what we had to do. But sometimes accidents, there's no, good artists will tell you there are no accidents, just opportunities for inspiration.
When did you know that you had a hit?
I remember we did. In fact, I remember we were sitting, they would do screenings of the TV shows, premieres, similarly to a movie premiere. So they took the first 3 episodes, which were directed by Walter Hill, Bob Zemeckis, and Richard Donner, 3 of the biggest directors in Hollywood. And those were the first 3 episodes that they released. And even if they never made a series out of it, those 3 together were going to be something big. And so they decided they had a screening. And I remember I'm sitting with, whoever. People don't know who I am because they don't see me on screen. There are people who go, oh, is that comic or whatever, but people don't know that I'm, the voice of that character yet. And so I'm sitting there in the theater, and a couple rows ahead of me, there's some people in front of me, and then there's a bunch of HBO executives, and they're watching it, and some of the people between me and the executives turn and they go, wow, this is really great TV. And the guy goes, it's not TV, it's HBO. And you see the two executives' heads like look at each other like, oh. Literally, it became one of their sayings. One of their tags. It's not television. It's not TV. It's HBO, whatever it was. And I was just like, this could be big. This could be big for them.
You have your own pinball machine. Like, how cool
I
is
do. They gave me one. They were like, what am I getting paid to do this? They go, we don't really make money on them. They're for advertising, and you sell them to an arcade, they make money on it. But it's like, no, we'll give you a pinball machine. I was like, great. Could have been such a negative character. He's such a positive character,
and you brought all of that and more to him, and that's thanks to you. That says a lot to the testament of your character and your voice. So be sure to check out John Kassir on Cameo, where you could order any message that you want, probably within reason, for a family member or loved one, and keep an eye on his convention schedule. John Kassir, thank you so much for being here with us at Midnight Rental. Appreciate it.
The pleasure is all mine. May all your screams come true. So glad to have popped your scary.
All My Children will continue in a moment.
it's cold and rough outside, try something warm and creamy inside. Cream of wheat hot cereal and instant mix and eat. Their smooth texture always lets the flavor come through. 2 great ways to come in from the cold. It's going to happen. By choice or perhaps a simple mistake. Instead of your sweet and low, you taste equal and discover what others discover when they try it. They like it better. The taste that comes from NutraSweet brand sweetener. Not saccharin. Equal. Someday, everything will taste this good.
You're looking at a whole new dimension in word games. It's called Upwards. Now you can stack letters, creating new words, reach higher scores, and new levels of strategy. Upwards from Milton Bradley.
Darling, this is tough.
Darling, this is tougher. Sunlight. It cuts tough, baked-on, caked-on food, even grease.
Well, I declare.
Sunlight with lemon juice. It cuts that tough stuff loose.
Friday's coming. That means Linda Ellerby will be here with TGIF, different look at the news. Also, great skater Scott Hamilton and Dorothy Hamill tomorrow on Good Morning America.
At Food Barn, you'll find everything you need for your Thanksgiving dinner. And to make your holiday entertaining and gift-giving easier, call the Food Barn Holiday Hotline. For party trays, fruit baskets, cheeses, even complete dinners, call the Food Barn Holiday Hotline Collect at 816-932-8128. Anytime from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
Introducing McCormick Spice Tips. Simple ways to make ordinary food exciting.
So easy.
With McCormick Spice Tips, great tasting meals are as easy as the boring ones.
And you can do it too. It's easy. It's so easy.
Get McCormick Spice Tips free at your grocer's. You can't make a dull meal with McCormick.
It's so easy.
10% real Minute Maid fruit juices. Vitamins, too.
What do you do when Mom and Dad can't take care of themselves?
You can't keep a good Cryptkeeper down, and after its peak in the 50s, a cinematic revival was brewing in 1972 when British production house Amicus pumped new life into the property with the first film adaptation of Tales from the Crypt. Directed by legendary Oscar-winning cinematographer Freddie Francis, this iteration is based entirely on stories taken from the Crypt and Vault of Horror series, including And All Through the House. It featured a cast of some familiar faces including Joan Collins, Peter Cushing, and Patrick McGee. It also includes an unfamiliar Cryptkeeper, this time in full human and non-puppet form, played with campy relish by Ralph Richardson, considered one of the greatest of all British actors. It's a different approach to our good buddy the Cryptkeeper, but it's a lot of fun in its own way, and it keeps the inaugural big screen take frequently entertaining. Making its big screen debut in January of '95, Tales from the Crypt Presents Demon Knight was a modest box office hit, making back about twice its budget before going on to be a home video success. The film itself was not based on any pre-existing tales from EC Comics, but instead an original screenplay that had been circulating since the late 80s and, at one point, attached to writer and director Tom Holland. No, not that Tom Holland, but the Tom Holland who gave us Fright Night and directed the first Child's Play. By the 90s, however, the script that made it to screen would be directed, like the 1972 version, by a widely acclaimed cinematographer. Ernest Dickerson, who by the early 90s had cut his teeth doing groundbreaking cinematography for Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing and Malcolm X, had moved into directing with the drama Juice, starring Tupac, and Surviving the Game with Ice-T, Gary Busey, and F. Murray Abraham. Dickerson, with his keen visual sense and clear affection for genre pictures, would bring to the film an unflagging energy that made the most of its modest budget. Bookended by some prime Cryptkeeper antics, the film itself is directed by him and ends with the Cryptkeeper and the Hollywood screamer of Demon Knight. The movie is just an all-around blast. It's a perfect reintroduction of this legendary series for the big screen that honors both the comic books and the television show while trying something new. Not only is the film a great document of the mid-90s, but so is its soundtrack. I mean, can you even call it a 90s soundtrack if it doesn't have Filter on it? Now, where to begin with Bordello of Blood? Maybe at the end. At the end of the television series run, Bordello hit theaters in July of 1996. Like Demon Knight, the screenplay for this one is not based on an existing EC Comics story, but instead a screenplay written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale way back in 1973 after they had graduated film school, but was updated to be more contemporary. The producers had also considered making Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn or Peter Jackson's The Frighteners as the second Tales movie entry, but ultimately landed on the Zemeckis and Gale script as a bargaining chip to keep Zemeckis happy at Universal Pictures. This movie deals with vampires, and not just any vampires, but a bordello of vampires, and for some unknown reason, it also gives us Dennis Miller in a leading role.
I'm gonna go out of my mind, okay?
Now, the queen of the vampires is supermodel Angie Everhart in her first ever major acting role. Miller, who at this point was still riding the wave from his stint on SNL and his talk show, had never headlined a movie before, but producer Joel Silver wanted to make him a bigger theatrical star, and there's a certain logic to that. He was brand name enough and relentlessly sarcastic. But Miller, who in interviews would encourage people to actively not see the film, isn't necessarily a leading man. As Private Eye Gutman, he riffs through the movie, often seeming like he'd rather be anywhere else.
Guess where you've just landed, lover?
Larry Flint's id?
And according to set reports, that was very much the case. Miller rejected much of the scripted dialogue in favor of improvising his way through the film, which created major continuity errors. Now, it's not to say that Bordello of Blood is a total mess. It really does hit some 90s nostalgic sweet spots between all the snark and a cast that also includes a welcome appearance by Corey Feldman. There's also a pretty neat little pre-credits sequence that feels like an EC Comics riff on Indiana Jones that, if I were a betting woman, I would say is probably one of the remaining pieces from Robert Zemeckis' and Bob Gale's original screenplay. With all the production strife and set turmoil, Bordello of Blood finally made it to theaters in August of 1996 to a resounding rejection from audiences. Tales from the Crypt has not been seen on the big screen since. But, like I said at the top, you can't keep a good Cryptkeeper down. In fact, just in 2016, M. Night Shyamalan was attached to a reboot that was set to have run on TNT. The series never got off the ground due to the scariest thing of all: ongoing legal issues surrounding character rights. But when you least expect it, the Cryptkeeper just might find a way to cheat death, escape legal rights hell, and emerge like a bony phoenix from the ashes to find a home back on the television screen of your choice sometime soon. Now, as the age-old saying goes, the mark of a show's success is only as high as its merch and spin-off opportunities, and Tales from the Crypt offered plenty of both. 1993 saw the debut of Tales from the Cryptkeeper, a Saturday morning cartoon adaptation of the Grizzly series that aired on ABC. They basically chucked the HBO show into a centrifuge, spun it around until all of the sex and gore were removed, so that all remained was a squeaky clean Scooby-Doo level of scare-type show, perfectly suited for kids to watch while eating cereal in their pajamas on the floor. These were Tales from the Crypt-inspired adapted tales in the most gentlest of ways, and the show's biggest saving grace was thanks to John Kassir being back as the tried and true voice of the Cryptkeeper. And who else could do it? The answer is no one. Season 2 brought the Vault Keeper and the Old Witch as additional hosts, but it would mark the final season under the running title. In 1999, another cartoon called New Tales from the Cryptkeeper would make its US premiere on CBS, and this version would have the Cryptkeeper serving more as a morality teacher, with each episode lining up with teachable moments with an understood lesson at the end, not unlike a Full House episode. Aside from the animation aspect, What really sets the cartoon versions apart is the fact that we see the Cryptkeeper himself up and moving around in various settings, versus the show where he was very much anchored to just his crypt-like basement. Secrets of the Cryptkeeper's Haunted House was a live-action game show for kids in a complete 180 from the cartoons. It debuted on CBS in 1996 and only lasted for a year. John Kassir once again stepped in as the voice of the Cryptkeeper, this time serving as the game show announcer. There were also young adult book adaptations of Tales from the Crypt released by Random House in 1991, and these versions were far more explicit and grisly than the cartoon adaptations. They were some of my favorite books to sneakily read at the library when my mom wasn't looking. There was also a Tales from the Cryptkeeper book from Scholastic that was released after the cartoon television show debuted, but a book adaptation of a cartoon television show that was adapted from a live-action television show that was adapted from comic books in the 1950s starts to get more than a little watered down. The Tales from the Crypt merch was plentiful as well, with masks, action figures, trading cards, shirts, and a ton more hitting store shelves, along with the sassy Cryptkeeper himself popping up in the most unexpected places like Spencer's Gifts and Bud Light ad campaigns. As for the HBO show itself, it would get released on VHS, with each tape having a curated episode selection, and the exhaustive complete series would come later on DVD. Now, currently, the rights to the show seem to be all over the place, which is why, to this day, YouTube is still the most accessible platform that one can stream them from. Will we ever get a Blu-ray release? Or a decent scan where we can just watch them on HBO Max? Probably not in this economy. Regardless of the many variations, Tales from the Crypt and the Cryptkeeper himself's lasting power is undeniable to all.
Still hungry for dessert? I hope you like cannibal soup. It's good.
Growing up, I was super poor, and I used to go over to my friend's house to watch the latest Tales from the Crypt episode. But this time, he had something just a little bit different. Now, this was an Arquette pretending to be in love with a scarecrow, although that is awesome. But instead was an amazing Tales from the Crypt cartoon, and although for kids, still served the same purpose as a morality play. In the episode While the Cats Are Away, a couple kids break into an old spooky mansion trying to steal stuff so they can raise money to get a BMX bike. Something I could super relate to. It turns out that the mansion is actually owned by the Cryptkeeper himself and serves as an excellent introduction to his monstrous cast of characters. My friend would often show up with a whole pants full of Tales from the Crypt action figures, and we would never ask where they came from, so we could probably learn a lesson or two from this episode.
Hey, Lenora. Mail call.
Oh, it's from Warner Brothers in Hollywood, California. Do you think there's a car in here? It's a... Don't tell Mom the babysitter's dead promotional backpack. Well, looks like we didn't win the big contest. But this backpack's still pretty cool. And even though we didn't win the $1 million or the fancy screen-used car, I'd still say that was a pretty good first season, wouldn't you guys?
Yeah.
What do you predict happening in the future, Emmy?
Ooh, I see big things for you, Lenora.
Like a Liquid Death sponsorship? Oh my god! Hello? Liquid Death?
Hey, you got any copies of Cube?
No! We're closed! Anyways, thank you so much to everyone who made the first season of Midnight Rental possible. Thank you so much to the best camera crew I could have ever imagined donating their time and talents. Mike Went, Brian Robinson, Rustin McCann, my friend Joe Carroll, Dan Peters for letting us use this incredible set space, Sydney Allen, our amazing PA, Ben Hain as Carl, Emmy, and Little Carmine. Our patrons on Patreon, thank you so much. We could not do this without you either. I love each and every one of you, and if you share the show with a like-minded friend, I appreciate you as well. If you don't like the show, I even love you if you hate it. But that's not all for us. We're gonna go on to season 2, and who knows what will happen this coming year. I cannot wait. I have nothing else to say except stay tuned and good night.
I'll tell you what, we had a pretty good time considering we're all going to die, huh?
Actually, I think that's a good way to look at it. There's nothing wrong with looking at it
That's
like
right.
that. Seriously.
Listen, hey,
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
Thanks for watching Midnight Rental.
A dream come true.